So, what's up, man? How are you? How you been?
Good.
It's
Good.
been a minute. I don't see you, man.
I know. Yeah. When was the?
Bro, this when I was still going to the jiu-jitsu, right?
Yeah.
That was probably before the pandemic, maybe February of 2020 or something.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I miss it so much, man. But I injured my foot, so I cannot do anything right
yeah?
now. I'm sorry.
Mhm.
So, tell me a little bit who you are, so people know who we're talking
Perfect.
or
So,
who we're listening to.
should I just go into it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
of course. We are into it since like 1 minute 30 seconds ago.
Like, I guess.
All right.
So
Wait.
right now I'm in mental health, but the way I got there was in a very circuitous way. I didn't go directly there, but mental health has always been kind of a part of my life in some ways. Like, for example, when I started my undergraduate career, and I'm the child of two immigrants, right? Mexico and Greece.
Okay.
And so both of them were like doctor or lawyer. You have two choices. And I was like, okay, I guess doctor. I swear to God, I didn't even know any other professions pretty much existed. I was just like doctor or lawyer. So I went doctor. I got to college and I realized, oh my God, I don't want to be a doctor. I don't know why I thought that. So I was exploring other majors, and during this time, I really enjoyed psychology. However, during this time, my first time away from home, I didn't realize what I had at the time was depression. Yeah.
Sorry. So, first time away from home, being in college.
Exactly.
You mean?
Yeah.
How old were you?
17.
17.
Yeah.
You went to college at 17?
Yeah.
Look at you.
My parents, no, this is funny. They, my mother, she's the Mexican. She forged my birth certificate so I could go early. I could start early.
Okay, please. Nobody look for her.
Exactly. So I thought that was so funny because she just wanted me to get ahead, She's like, you can go earlier. It's fine. You're close enough. And then so she whited out. She changed the date. She scanned it and copied
To
it.
start school.
Exactly. So
She didn't want your hand anymore.
Exactly.
She's like, come on, just go bother somebody else.
As soon as possible. Yeah. So, yeah. I started at 17. And
so now you're away from home and you start feeling things that you didn't know in that right moment. It was kind of depression.
yeah, I thought I was lazy, to be honest with you, because I was sleeping in all day. I had so much anxiety. I didn't know it was anxiety at the time. I had so much anxiety though. I didn't want to go to class, so I started skipping classes, not even to do anything, just to sleep more. And after some time, I realized if I was a little bit late, I had this anxiety around time and being on time. So if I was not 10 minutes early, for me, I was late and I would just skip class because I didn't want to go. It's almost like the perfectionistic thing of everything has to be perfect, right?
You feel now that you know better, right?
Yeah.
You feel like it was your brain pushing excuses for you to keep you away from doing stuff. Because I feel like brain sometimes, and this might be a whole science behind it, I don't know. And that's the reason, in part, what I want to do this podcast and talk to people to learn stuff. Right. But sometimes I feel like the brain is always looking ways to keep you comfortable. So when you set this kind of mind, right, thoughts that, okay, if I'm 10 minutes, less than 10 minutes, I'm late.
Yeah.
Maybe your brain pushing ways to keep you comfortable, because it's not like, okay, run faster or do it faster. It's more like, okay, if you're there, just go and rest, go back home. So is that like a regular condition of the brain, or is the brain of the depressed, or?
Yeah, everything in mental illness is about where on the spectrum are you, right? On one end, and I think I would do it more about, rather than comfort and avoidance, I would say more about, in this case, it was fear, right? If you were talking about your insecurity driven by anxiety, a little bit is fine, right? That's how people get some driven. But if you have so much you can't do anything, that's when it's a problem, right?
Makes sense.
So I had so much fear over being late and being judged and people looking at me that I was like, fuck that, I don't want to go near there. Wow. And it's irrational, right? Nobody gives a fuck if you're 5 minutes late, you walk in, nobody cares, right?
Yes.
But in my head, I was like, oh my God, everyone's going to be looking at me. They're gonna like judge me. They're gonna do all this stuff. So
Wow.
if I wasn't 10 minutes late, didn't have my seat and my notes organized, I was a perfectionist.
Hmm.
You know, I all through high school it was easy for me because everything was like simple. I barely had to study and I did fine. I got like 4.0. College is a different like level of difficulty, right? You have to study.
Hmm.
You have to learn how to study. You have to learn how to be a good student. And I always took notes and everything, but I never had to like review my notes or I never had to do all these other things. So I was so intimidated by that. Um, I just like avoided it, right? I
Wow.
was so afraid. Um, Around this time when I was like, so the first couple years was like very difficult. I was almost kicked out twice
Wow.
from avoiding classes.
And back then you were studying for nutritionist
Psychology,
psychology already.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And I got what do you call it? Academic probation, which means if you slip below a certain point, we're going to kick you out.
Wow.
Um, this was around the time where I actually had a friend die,
Hmm.
and that was like the tipping point for me because already had all these fears and anxieties, and this was the point at which everything started to fall apart because my friend died. I loved him so much, and I was having recurring nightmares about him.
Wow.
I couldn't sleep, so I got a therapist. He helped me out. He kind of helped me sort out the beginnings of it, and it was after this time I started to do a lot better. Like
Okay.
I went from academic probation to the other end, which was a dean's list, which was like the top
Oh wow.
few percent.
And this therapist, you say,
Yeah.
he was helping you with the grief itself, or also with the anxiety that you had and all this kind of.
Yeah.
So this person in the conversation started learning about all the things that you were doing, like skipping class and feeling tired and sleepy and all of that. It was all part of the same process.
It's all related, at the end of the day. We like to put things into discrete boxes, right? Like this is anxiety, this is fear, this is my inability to grieve, this is all this. But really your mind is one jumbled system.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's related. You touch one thing, it's related to another thing. Everything. It's very complicated. It's like the economy in this way, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can't just say like I'm going to do this one thing to the economy and everything I know how it's going to turn out, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's why, like, for example, crypto is so fucking weird, right?
Yeah, definitely, man.
Nobody knows how that's necessarily going to affect like the stock market and people's jobs and like all this crazy stuff, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
all a big system that has its own way of functioning, but it's not due to one individual thing. It's due to everything working together. Right?
Yes, yes. Interconnected. Everything's
Exactly.
interconnected.
The mind is the same way. So my grief was not just normal grief, which is, if it was normal grief, that's one thing, right? It was actually, I felt responsible for his death,
Oh wow.
which is completely unrelated. He died of cancer. I had nothing to
Oh
do with that. So, you know,
yeah, yeah.
but in my head, my nightmares were I was responsible for murdering him. And
Wow.
this was a big thing that had been going on for me taking responsibility for things that were not due to me,
Mm-hmm.
right? So he helped me with this, helped me with my anxiety. It was all kind of related. And I was able to get to class late, which was like an accomplishment because I was never late, right?
Yeah.
I got to do things that were imperfect, which was a big deal because if I couldn't do it perfectly, I didn't want to touch it, right?
Mm-hmm.
I was a very like, you know, everything had to be just right. Like I'm sure you can understand that, right? Yeah.
A little, yeah.
But like mine was so far, it would be paralyzing because I'd be like, well, I can't get it right, then fuck it, I'm not doing it at all.
Wow.
And so I would do all these like modifications, and be like, I still hate it, I'm not doing it, you know. And I had to like go down the spectrum,
Mm-hmm.
from like extreme fear to like more comfortability with being uh, imperfect, basically.
Understanding that perfect is not necessarily perfect.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now you getting better in grades, and from there you start understanding your own, because now you're studying psychology, so you kind of, you're reading books and kind of,
Yeah.
I understand this was what happening on me.
Yeah.
So what happened then?
So what's interesting is one of the weirdest. It almost doesn't make sense, but I realized I was almost done with my psychology degree at this time. And I realized like, oh my God, I don't want to do anything in this thing. I'm really interested in, I think at the point I was not ready to be in mental health because I was so new to it in myself. I was so uncomfortable with myself. I felt like I can't do this for other people because I thought about going in that direction in the first place. But I was like, I can't do that. I don't think I'm like strong enough to do that, you know?
Yeah, man, because phew, even when you get good grades and even when you now understand a lot better situations, it's still very tough. Like to have that kind of courage, knowing that you gotta take now people
Yeah.
minds or in your hands, and you gotta be responsible for the outcomes or their whatever they're going through in that moment.
Exactly.
And being a new graduated,
Mm-hmm.
just out of school,
Mm-hmm.
I can imagine it have to be like just. I feel like you're dumb saying this, but when you start tattooing, for example,
Yeah.
you always so nervous because it's permanent and you
Right.
don't want to screw it, right?
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's like it's a tattoo, you know. You
Yeah.
can fix it. You can clean the lines a little better,
Right.
You play safe. But with psychology, it's like you have to go and start working already in humans.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
not like, okay, practicing some oranges or fake skin, and when you kind of get some,
No,
then
they had the same process though.
oh, good,
Yeah.
good.
No oranges, obviously.
I mean, no oranges and fake skin, but
Yeah. But like you start with like working with fellow students, right? And in the same way with tattooing, where you can clean up the line, ev- everything in it's almost like a cheat, but everything in mental health, even if you fuck up, as long as you acknowledge you mess up, it can be part of the process of growth for the person, right? Because part of being human, again, and part of the mental health process is acknowledging, like, hey, we're all going to mess up. Just because I'm a professional doesn't mean I'm not going to be
yes,
like make a mistake here and there. But what's important is once I do make a mistake, I can apologize. I can acknowledge my own imperfection. I could bring my apology to you. And then the action of the forgiveness, the acceptance, the human bonding actually increases what's called the therapeutic alliance with the patient. They trust you more, basically,
definitely.
because you're able to, own
Definitely.
up.
No, I can imagine, like, if I go to see somebody, or even when you talk to friends or co-workers or your boss, like your boss, let's say, for example, if
Yeah.
you see that your boss is capable to accept responsibility for something
Yeah.
instead of just assuming that he was right all the time because he's the boss, you appreciate that. And then you trust better and then you learn, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when you are going to look for help,
Mm-hmm.
you don't want to go and assuming like I gotta spend some time with this person that's gonna try to help me,
Mm-hmm.
knowing that he might not know what he's doing, and
Yeah.
you know what I'm
Yeah.
trying to say. It's like
Yeah.
as a professional therapist or
Mm-hmm.
psychologist or
Yeah.
whatever, don't say that to nobody. don't put that in your resume or
Yeah.
on your business card.
Mm-hmm.
Like I might get wrong, but I gotta apologize and fix it. But it's understandable. What I'm saying is understandable.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to see like the funny part of that.
Right.
Like
Well, there's like again a spectrum to it, right? There's like complete incompetence,
oh yeah, no,
and
I
then
know,
there's like no matter how good you are, you will always make a mistake.
yeah,
Guaranteed.
definitely,
Right?
and it's very humble. Let's say
Yeah.
having that mindset, that
Yeah.
that way to approach your profession or any profession.
Right.
I know that I don't know everything.
Mm-hmm.
I have to be aware all the time
Right.
that if something is going wrong or I'm doing any mistakes or whatever, I have to adjust, apologize, and move from there on.
Yeah.
So you were afraid to start in that very beginning, just out of school.
Yeah.
So what did you do?
So I was near graduating. I had one semester left, and then at this time I was doing a lot of research in psychology, but about how nutrition helps with mental illness.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the very first studies I read on this was just amount of calorie intake and how the amount of calories you take in is related to depression directly. So
Wow.
so it's actually not too much or too little, right? Because if you have too little, that's associated with depression, but so is too much.
Mm-hmm.
But like there's a sweet spot per, I think, uh, uh, sorry, gram of food per kilogram or calorie per kilogram of body weight
Mm-hmm.
that is like more associated with healthy. So I was like, well, that's one thing I can do for myself,
Mm-hmm.
So I started doing that. That was something that helped me. And I was like, maybe I could go more into nutrition. So that's
Were you already into like fitness and jiu-jitsu and all of that already back then or not yet?
jiu-jitsu, yes.
Because you right now
Actually,
a
yeah.
black belt, right? Or still or a brown
No,
belt?
brown
A
belt.
brown belt. I
Yeah.
remember a brown belt. Yes. So it means that you've been there for a little while.
Yeah.
That's not something you earn
Yeah.
or buy in Amazon.
So 2009 was when I started jiu-jitsu.
Wow.
At that point, yeah, I think I was into fitness. Yeah, because I was running like 6 miles a day before I started jiu-jitsu. I did boxing. I did karate. And I did machines. I didn't do free weights at that time.
Something that I listen all the time around is how exercising help you so much with depression and all this stuff. Back then, when in the beginning of college time, were you already exercising too, or you were more like just in that process of feeling that rest all the time? Like you've been super active even before you went to college, right?
Yeah, I did martial arts all my life.
Okay.
So that was my main exercise, and then by myself I would do like very basic like sit-ups, push-ups, stuff like that. But I didn't do running as much, and I didn't do it as like consciously, you know. I did it maybe here and there, no plan. But when I was trying to get better, and I was doing my own research about helping myself along with getting therapy, I wanted to take a hand in my own healing, you know. I read about exercise, and that's when I started consistently exercising. I would run every night before bed, and because I had insomnia, that was like another issue I had like everything going on.
Wow.
And that would just put me out. I slept so well after a day where I ran.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. In a very clean way too. You didn't need medication to go to sleep, which could probably would increase other problems with the depression itself that you were suffering, right?
Yeah.
And also part of the thing that exercises are good for you in your health, mental health, is that running is one of the best ones, right? I heard that because when you're running, you burn so many calories, but at the same time you breathe so much, your body oxygen better, everything start moving inside of your body, and so it kind of clean up itself. And the challenge that you have to always keep like, okay, one more step, let's keep going, because I don't know, I'm not a big runner. I'm not running at all. I just do elliptical now and then, And something that I see is that I start in like 2 minutes into it, I'm like, okay, no more. My body's exhausted. Like I'm super lazy. And yeah, I'm ashamed to say it, but it's true, right? I'm not gonna try to make it look better. So, but also at the same time, I feel like, come on, I just made all the way here from home. I wake up early. I'm not gonna get out of the elliptical in 2 minutes. Let's keep pushing a little more, right? And then you 8 minutes into it, and you feel like, what I'm doing this year. I don't need to do this. I just need to eat a little better, and that's it. But then you're like, let me just pass. I know if I pass the 10 minutes, I'm gonna be okay. Like you keep pushing through those, and when you realize you did 30 minutes or whatever, even if it's not hard, you know, but just the passing the time and breaking each of these barrier at the end of the session, whatever 30 minutes, you come back home, take a shower, and go to work, and your brain is super excited. Like you like I don't know, like a dog with a new toy. You know, like you're like super alert, super inspiring during the day, you're super awake. Versus when you don't do anything at all for many days, and then you start getting more and more tired, and then the brain keeps going like, just rest. It's okay. Eat a little bit of this and rest. You gotta do it later, and you kind of notice how one versus the other one, right? Like you exercising a little bit and your brain is like, wow, so happy. What did you do? Give me more of that, whatever it is, right? It's like a drug almost. It's like you feel so like
it is. Yeah.
And then you don't exercise and you eat crappy, and then you feel like super tired. But at the same time, you know it, and it's so hard to just get out of the bed and go and exercise.
Yeah.
Right? Maybe because I was thinking, that I don't know if it's true or not, that your brain is always looking for ways to keep you comfortable. And going and run is not keep you comfortable. It's like, why would you do that? Like, you know, you killing calories that you might need.
Yeah, exactly.
You know? So it's always that kind of dilemma between what you know what you have to do, or what you know already is good for you, and what your brain or whatever it is telling you don't do.
Yeah.
Which actually make you feel worse, and then it's kind of, you don't want to do it, or you want to do it more but you do it less, right? It's like that. But the whole point, I don't know how I got all the way there. We were talking about how exercising was good for you in that
Yeah.
moment too, right?
Yeah. No,
Like, uh-huh.
but man, you brought up so many good points there. Your body like is almost like goes into drug use, right? Because what you were saying, it's like a drug. Um, Pretty much every drug, you could probably say every drug that people can do mimics something the body naturally produces for you. Otherwise, it wouldn't work, right? If you didn't have
Yes.
a receptor for it, the drug wouldn't work. In the case of exercise, you release like a lot of like endorphins. You release I forgot endocannabinoids, like things from marijuana. Endorphins are like morphine type feeling things. So it's like opioids and cannabis together when you're exercising. Obviously, like lower amounts, right? Excuse me. Um, and so that's like really interesting because this is the way your body naturally gets it, right? We're supposed to be getting these regularly, right? It's how we are rewarded for doing this thing that you said is like so hard. It's so calorically expensive. You're just like spending all these calories. Your body has to be like, well, we have to reward him somehow for doing these, right? Otherwise, he would never do it. So there's like both sides. Your body wants to save, and your body wants to reward you for doing it at the same time. But
Oh, here we go. It makes sense.
yeah.
Yes. So why people don't do it? Why I don't do it?
So you have to be sensitized to it, right? Like, and there's you have to look at it also from two perspectives of like what is driving you to do it, and also what is blocking you to do it, right? Usually in mental health, the conversation is more about what is blocking you, right? That's what it typically revolves around in clinical practice, right? Because usually people will go and say like, I don't know, I have a bad relationship with drugs and I really want to stop. So they already have the desire to stop. Why don't they stop? Right? What's blocking them? That's like the idea. And in the same way, when I was working in nutrition, and this is kind of how I got into mental health, when I was working in nutrition and strength and conditioning, my concern, a lot of people who are in that field, they wanted repeat customers, right? So they're like, rely on me for the information. I'll be your personal trainer for this 1 hour that you pay, and I'll get you results for this 1 hour. And when you go home, I'll give you some advice, but whether it works or not doesn't really matter because I want kind of like a repeat customer in some way, right? For me, I've always been very curious. I wanted the real answer. I wanted to find out, like, so if you want to exercise and you're not, why? Like, I was curious. I wasn't like trying to judge. I was just very curious, right? And so that's how I made my practice around. It was less about what I did with you for the 1 hour and more about trying to find out what do you do the other 23 hours you're not with me. What happens there? Because when you're with me, when you're with someone who's like helping you, guiding you, coaching you, it's way easy to be like a perfect,
I know.
model. But the other 23 hours, what happens? I'm so curious.
Those are the hard ones
Yeah.
as a client, let's say.
Yeah.
Because when I'm there with you, I'm forced to do what you tell me to do, right?
Exactly.
At least I have to get forced to do
Yeah.
what you asking me to do, right? But once I go home, I always I and I said that in the other episode that I recorded before. I always say for a lot of people, sometimes I don't know if for a lot of people, but it's for me. I mean me, I just say a lot of people, but for a lot of people, meaning me at least, like I love going to the gym, right? When I start going to the gym and I've been there for a week or so, then I like it. And then if I stop for any reason, whatever the reason is, like last reason was that I injured my left foot, my ankle, and then I take a month off, bro, try to get me back in the gym. It's almost impossible. And I don't know why, right?
Yeah.
So what I know is that if I go to the gym with a personal trainer or whatever, or a friend that's helping me, blessed I have a lot of friends that try always to help me. I'm there and I'm motivated, right? Or sometimes I'm not even that motivated. I'm just ashamed. Like I don't want to do wrong because, you're helping me, offer me you help. How I gotta not do it, right?
Right.
Then I spend the whole day in the beginning. This is the beginning, right? In the beginning of the day, I'm still like, oh yeah, it was good. It was fun or whatever. But then through the day, my brain starts like, we don't need to do this tomorrow. Maybe tomorrow we rest. I heard that resting is good for the muscles. Like I start looking even for valid excuses because
Yes.
it's a valid excuse.
Yes, 100%.
But it's not good when you start it. You
Yeah.
need to create a routine, right?
Yeah.
But my brain is like, yeah, let's just rest tomorrow. You eat something clean so your body recover, and then next day any excuse comes. Maybe, man, a lot of the times I start feeling like I want to take my wife for a dinner. And then I realized that, yeah, definitely I want to take her for dinners,
Yeah.
and she deserves it and all of that. But sometimes I just feel like I'm looking for an excuse to eat shitty. Yeah, because I got to go out, probably get a drink and whatever. And I just keep looking for that instant gratification. And that constant, like, you don't need to do this, rest. You can come back next week and do it. You know, that famous, like, on Monday I start.
Yeah, exactly.
Or January 1st I start.
That's
You know what I mean?
That's the one I hate the most.
Every gym is full
January 1st.
when
oh my
somebody's
God.
coming and stuff.
Yeah.
But it's a reality, right?
Yeah.
It's something that is going on
Yeah.
that is so hard for me to understand. How is that I know that this is so good for me and still I don't do it? And that's the reason why I never have done like hard drugs, you know, like cocaine or heroin or anything like that. Because I'm so afraid that I'm going to get hooked to that because, you know, I'm going to be so pleased for the easy gratification at the moment.
Yeah.
And then even though it might be bad for me, like we all kind of agree that they're not too good for you, even though we know it, it's hard to stop, right? So if I know that right now with food, for example, that I sometimes I eat things that I shouldn't be eating, right? Or we exercising, that I don't do it, even when I should do it, but I still don't do it. So that's why I try to stay away from extra situations like drugs, you know? So what is going on there? Why you start kind of working around that, right? Trying to understand and how to apply it for the 24 hours, let's say, right?
Yeah. So like I started, because actually initially I worked with athletes. That was what I thought was like my favorite thing. Like, how do you get strong people even stronger? How do you get fast people even faster? How do you get people more explosive, people with better conditioning? So I even worked with an Olympic athlete for judo, and it was like very exciting, right? It's kind of like sexy in a way, right? Like, oh, I'm working with Olympic athletes.
Yeah, definitely.
But the thing I enjoyed more actually was working with people who had not had results elsewhere. That was my very favorite. So people who had been to people already, nutritionists or strength and conditioning coaches or personal trainers, and after however many years, they just could not get results. Those were my favorite because that's like a puzzle to figure out.
Definitely.
Right?
And that's what you're saying. Yes.
Yeah. And so
that challenge, right?
Exactly.
That challenge.
Yeah. So I started working exclusively with those kinds of people with ideas that were very different from what the rest of the nutrition and strength and conditioning field was doing. Because most of those are very, how do I put this? I don't say this in a negative way. I just say a very basic way, right? You have the reward and you have the punishment. If you reward if you do it, punishment if you don't do it. I was thinking more about like, okay, for these people who they're familiar with the reward, they want the reward, and they don't want the punishment, they're still not doing it. What's happening? Like, what is the deeper underlying thing going on here? And that's how I got into mental health a lot. Because when you start going down that path, you know, mental health is like such a wide topic, right? It's so hard to talk about sometimes because it's so broad.
Yes.
Because it impacts everything. If you think about it, everything we do is from our mind. Everything. And so you can't help but touch upon it if you start to go deep in any one subject, right? And so when I was working with these people, I realized some of the challenges they confronted weren't about what they said it was about. Like, let's say one person loved Snickers bars, right? They ate it all the time. And they swore it was like, it's, you know, I'm addicted to Snickers because they're so good. And I love them. They're delicious. And I was like, yeah, but lots of food is delicious. It doesn't mean people like eat it all the time, right? Compulsively. And then when you start to dig deeper, it's like, okay, when do you eat Snickers bars? There would also be some other stuff. This is a more condensed version, right, for the podcast.
Just an example, yes.
Yeah. But I'd be like, when do you eat it? Okay, record all the times you eat it. What happened before? What happened after? How did you feel? What's going on over there? And then usually it's a stress response, right? They're responding to a stress response that they weren't even aware was there. Like maybe they had, I don't know, an argument with their wife or something, and then they went to Snickers, but they didn't put it together. So the solution is not about like, okay, just eat healthier from now on. It's like, okay, how do you deal with the stress response in a healthier way? Can you like talk to a friend instead of eating Snickers? Because what needs to be solved is the stress response. It's not
That
about the
respond,
food at all at that point, right? The food has just been doing the job for that person. It's been like the comfort. It's been like the way to self-soothe. And maybe they learned that from their childhood, right? Maybe every time they got yelled at and their mother was like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I was too much. Here's a Snickers bar."
Yeah. Or the dentist.
Exactly.
Here is a little, the doctor.
Yeah.
Here is a little pop. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
You always get gratification with things that you shouldn't do, right?
Exactly.
Oh, you were so good in school. Let me take you for peace and soda.
Yeah.
So then you're creating that kind of,
Yeah.
reward through this.
Yeah.
So I've been thinking a lot about that. I haven't been reading enough. I think I should read more about it to really get the information I should get. But I've been thinking about it because since I became a father, now I'm concerned about, God, don't fuck this kid. Come on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because you got so many demons, man. I'm screwed. You know what I mean? I know I'm screwed. I just don't want to pass it to him.
Yeah.
At least I want to pass that level of screw that is still going to be beneficial for him.
Right.
But not the worst part, right? So one of the things that make me super self-conscious is why I keep eating things I shouldn't be eating, right? And we know it's a whole process of instant gratification, drugs releases in your brain that make you feel like it's a reward that you did it, it's good for you. We good, we friends,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? And then you try to exercise and your brain's like, why you do all of that we just said, right? This is hard, don't do it. This is bad for you, but it gives you some kind of benefits that are not good. But you know what I mean? It's the gratification sensors that get activated when you do something like eat an ice cream, for example.
Right.
On the pressure, you mad with your girlfriend and you go and get a cigarette, for example.
Exactly.
I don't smoke. I used to smoke cigarettes back in the day. And every time I try to stop, if I get mad with my partner back then or whatever, I go and get a cigarette. And then cigarette is not good, but it just release some drugs in you that make you feel pleased in the moment, right? So now I'm trying to be very conscious about that. So if I try to don't let Andres eat too many candies, but still he can, he's still a kid. I'm not that kind of psychopath, right? Like, no, 100% no.
Yeah.
I should even say that kind of psychopath. Right? He's very wrong that I say, but you know what I mean, right?
It's funny.
You know what I mean, right? Like I know that kind of like you gotta just eat kale from now on for the rest of your life because I need to make a smart, healthy, happy kid, right?
Yeah.
It's not like that. Still he get candies now and then. Still he get
good.
some juice now and then.
Good.
But what I try to do is to don't link it to a reward. Perfect. One of the biggest mistakes I realized very quick I committed. I made a mistake. I wasn't. I mean, it was a mistake, but I wasn't aware until I did it. Then I cannot do this shit never again. Andres started soccer. But that was when he was like 2.5 or something. He wanted to play soccer or whatever. Wanted to do something. Let's take him to soccer. He was like probably 3.5 or 4, whatever. He was more aware. He was more like he can talk to you and stuff, right? Yeah. And then in the morning he was sometimes lazy to wake up. So one day I said like, okay, let's go for a donut and then we go to the soccer. Like, what the fuck I'm doing? You know what I mean? Yeah. I'm taking him to do something so good for him, like exercise, social interaction with other kids, learn to behave, don't be an ass, don't keep, you know what I mean? You need to share the ball, you need to pass, you need that team, all of that kind of thing. But I'm rewarding it. What I'm saying, to do that, I'm going to give you a donut.
Yeah.
What is that, man? That was a big mistake, but I did it, right? I did it. That one time, and then I realized, in that moment, I was like trying to, because I knew he liked the donuts, and we tried to never eat donuts, but he just eat a little bit, and he don't really eat donuts. That was the problem, right? Even though he likes donuts kind of, he don't really love them. He get a couple of bites or something, he get like annoyed. But now he's asking, like, for example, if I say, oh, I have to take you this afternoon to whatever, something that he don't want to do, he's like, oh, okay, can we go for donuts first or something? So now he's kind of learning to get boche that is so bad for you.
Yeah.
Just, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
As a reward, even in
Right.
advance before even you do it.
Yeah.
So, but again, that was that one last time. And then I thought about it. I was like, what I'm doing, right? But that series of thoughts in that moment, it take me to think about when you little and it's like, you get hurt, here is a candy. You did good in school, let's go for pizza. Or I don't know, you behave so good today, get some soda. So how is that all the crap is the reward, right? And it makes sense because sugar and you like it, you want something that you like. They're going if your mom said to you like, you did so good in school, here is an onion, you're gonna be like, fuck that, I'm not going to school never again, right? But so it's like it makes sense, but it's wrong at the same time, right? Creating since little that kind of gratification through things that are bad for you.
Yeah. It's so funny. Actually, a professor of mine in nutrition talked about this specifically, because like you said, with a psychopath, you could go the other way, right? Where you're like, no candy in this house at all, nothing but kale chips, right? But the problem with that is,
I don't think the psychopaths, right?
no, it's fine. It's fine. But the problem is when they don't have exposure to that, what you've done is actually, it's the opposite, but you've also kind of done the same thing. You've created a preference for this, like let's say it's donuts in this case, right? You could have donuts as a reward for doing something good, and that's creating a preference for donuts. Or you can say, you will never have donuts. That's also creating a preference for donuts, because you're still giving it attention. It's like this special thing you can't get, right? So that works while they're a kid, and then when they become an adult, guess what becomes their favorite thing ever? Donuts, right? So she would talk about how the way is actually exactly what you're doing right now, is don't create a strong preference one way or the other. It's like balance. It always comes back to balance, I feel. Like, have your normal food, and of course you can have a candy here and there. It's not a big deal, right? Don't put so much emphasis on the candy or the donut one way or the other, because they have their own rewarding thing within them. But the other thing I wanted to talk about, what you kind of brought up, it was so interesting. It was about drug use. A lot of people don't know this because they have this idea of drugs, for example, like heroin, that it's like addictive with everyone who tries it. It's not.
It's not, right?
Yeah, some people can try heroin and they're like, it's nice, but not for me. I need to do my job. I need to take care of my kids, so it's probably not a good habit to start up. Just like some people could have like chocolate and they don't go like chocolate crazy, right? It's always about. I like chocolate too. Yeah, it's always about the underlying things, right? And so that's like an important thing, because it's not always about that reward. That basic, what I was saying, the strength and conditioning coaches and the nutrition coaches go with. They go with the basic reward and punishment idea, right? Like in terms of motivation, but a lot of the time it goes deeper. It's more systemic, right?
Yes.
So with drug use, or with like even candy, right? Like for Andre, not to say that this is going to happen, of course, right? But let's say you kept doing the donut thing every day. For him, donuts wouldn't necessarily be like an addiction in the sense of like the sugar rush, right? And the pleasure of that. It could be donuts. He associates donuts with spending time with his father. And who wouldn't want to get that on demand, right?
Yes.
Like, especially like, let's say he's an adult, he's having a hard time, and he doesn't think this consciously, right? But he's like, man, I could use some support. I'm going to have some donuts because it reminds him of the love he has for his father, right? And I've seen that many times, right? Like some comfort food is usually a food they had on special occasions with their family, and it reminds them of being with their family.
Yes.
Right.
So how we do, man? I'm sure it's not an easy answer, right? Because many people is studying about this and publishing papers about it. Yeah. How to try to understand. Just trying to understand the brain is impossible, kind of, right?
Yeah.
But if there is any like kind of simple advice, what can we do? What people like me, I know I love going to the gym. I know how it feels going to the gym. Yeah. I still don't manage to find a way to put myself in there. Yeah. How we do that? How what would be a kind of easy way? Something that I learned, I always battle with weight. I always get overweight, lose weight, get overweight, always, man. And it's not like a personal choice. It's that constant battle, right?
I believe it. Yeah.
And it's a battle.
Mm-hmm.
And I think about it, and I try to read a little bit about it. Again, not enough, but I think about it a lot. How if I go to the doctor and he said, for example, your blood pressure is high, or whatever, right? Your
Right.
cholesterol is high. Don't
Yeah.
eat certain things,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm like, yeah, I don't want to die. I know what I die for 2 days, and then I
Right.
forget.
Yeah.
Right, when I'm not scared in that moment, I forget, and then I eat a little bit or whatever I shouldn't eat.
Mm-hmm.
And when I realize I'm 5 pounds heavier because I keep eating what I shouldn't and
Yeah.
getting closer to die,
Mm-hmm.
right? Or live a worse kind of life,
Yeah.
because I don't feel that strong or healthier or flexible or active. Or, you know what I mean? Even my brain gets tired and I cannot speak fluently and all of that. Uh, and still I don't find a way. And all of this is I need to try to understand. But I'm sure there is people that also is going through that. And probably we can find information that some people can feel related to and say like, oh yeah, I can probably use one of those advices. Again,
Yeah.
probably one of the hardest, I will assume, one of the hardest things to try to help a big group of people is that everybody's, individual.
Yeah.
I know it's redundant saying everybody individual, but you know
No,
what I'm
no,
trying to
I know
say,
what you
right?
mean.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
trying to say this is what I do, everybody should do it. It's impossible. It won't work, right? Because but at the same time, it's very hard to create an individual plan for everybody out there
Yeah.
and try to put outside for everybody to absorb it.
Yeah.
At least that everybody comes one by one to you or somebody else that
Right.
knows and asks,
Right.
right? It should be at least a basic level that everybody. This is something also that I noticed. It's super hard to get motivated, right? You feel you want to do it, but it's hard to do it, right? But then you do the very first step, whatever it is. I gotta wake up at 5 or 6 or whatever and go to the gym. It's super hard, but I gotta do it. So I focus on just the night before. I put my gym clothing right there, and in the morning, as soon as I wake up, I get out of the bed. Before I start thinking like, again, I'm so tired, I can't rest today, whatever. Before any of that comes, I get out of the bed and put my gym pants and my t-shirt or whatever and go to the bathroom, take a leak, brush my teeth.
Yeah.
But I don't give the time enough for my brain to start bullshitting, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like this is a good advice for the mass, right? For everybody that's struggling. Like, again, I cannot say to everybody probably eat just chicken and broccoli because it might not work. Because if you really cut everything from your life, you start getting so miserable that then you're gonna go hard back into all the things that you kind of cut, right? But you can also say to people, just cut things little bit. And like just instead of eating a full bar of chocolate, eat half of that or whatever. Because also I know that doesn't really work for many people. Back in the day when I used to smoke cigarettes, I used to say like, I gotta stop smoking. I hated it. I hate the smell. I hate everything about it, pretty much. I was just very addicted, or used to it. I don't even know if it was addiction or used to it. I don't know. So I used to say like, okay, I gotta start, instead of stopping, I gotta start smoking just 3 cigarettes a day instead of 2 packages or whatever, right? It's bullshit. Because then next day you're like, I need one more cigarette. Somebody give me a cigarette, and then 2 days later you're smoking a full pack again, right? A day.
Yeah.
So I realized the best way for me, at least, it was cold turkey.
Yeah.
I said no more. Throw the cigarettes that I had and never smoke again since then.
Yeah.
It's been like 10 years, and still I feel the urge sometimes. When I smell it, or if I try to smoke a cigar, I feel like I want to inhale it. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Inhale it. Like, I feel like I want a cigarette now.
Right.
So I try to stay away from all of that. So back to the point is that we know it's hard to say everybody should do this because this is what is going to work.
Right.
That's kind of impossible, but at least there should be basics, right? You know any of those basics that you can share?
Yeah, absolutely. Dude, first of all, you said so many good things there. Like, I had 3 different ideas. I wanted to be like, oh my God, I want to talk about this and now this and now this. Shit, I don't even know where to start.
Sorry, yeah, that happens sometimes.
No, you have good stuff.
So let's say for example,
Yeah.
do you agree with that?
That was
It's
the
important to just do the little first step, because
Yeah.
once you do the first step, now you're in the gym.
Mm-hmm.
Now you feel a little better, but now now you come back next day,
Yeah.
and then you feel like, now I shouldn't eat I shouldn't drink the soda, for example,
Yeah.
because this thing is working nicely. I don't want to fuck it up, right?
Yeah.
Or I should go sleep earlier because I want to be more
Yeah.
awake. So now you're sleeping. That sleeping is such a great medicine for your body, right? So
Absolutely.
necessary. We take it for granted.
Number
I used to
one.
be one of those that
Yeah.
I sleep when I die. I rest when I die.
I remember I heard you say that
You were, you were one of the ones that heard
and I was like, oh God.
man, yeah, like I used to say all the time. I was so proud.
Yeah.
I was so proud. Like
Yeah.
I don't sleep. I
Yeah.
paint all night long. You
Yeah.
know, I worked in the day. I
It's-
paint all night.
Man, when I was doing the health research, first I thought okay, nutrition, that's how you get healthy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I found out if you exercise enough, even if you eat crap, your health can still be okay if you exercise enough.
Mm-hmm.
Exercise is so good for you. And then I found out, even if you don't do either of those things, but your sleep is really good, you will be even better. So sleep is above exercise and nutrition.
Imagine that.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I was blown away. I felt like shit. I chose the wrong career.
I know.
Yeah.
Man.
But
Like it's crazy, right?
yeah, but I remembered now your wonderful idea. So it was the idea of don't think, just go for it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah, I've been actually past couple of years I've been really thinking about this a lot because
If somebody is trying to become a serial killer or something like that, please don't follow this
Exactly.
advice in that direction. It's not what we meant to say.
Yeah.
Okay.
But what you noticed is so true. Your mind will come up with a million excuses that are even maybe true, right? To make you not do it. Your mind is so good
Yes.
at doing that. That's its job. It creates all these simulations, and then it chooses the one that's most favorable for you, right? Not necessarily the one that's best for you, but the one that's most favorable for you, right?
That will give you the instant comfort, the instant
Comfort.
gratification.
Yeah, and comfort or gratification can come by sitting or by doing exercise, right? So some people, believe it or not, have the opposite thing. They should be resting, but they want to be out there,
Definitely.
right? So it's not even necessarily what's best for you; it's what's favorable, right? So have you heard of this guy David Goggins?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
It's crazy.
So I've been thinking a lot. I read his book. I was like, this guy's
You did? Cool.
secretly brilliant.
Yeah.
He's very good in one skill, basically. And the skill is, oh, I'm feeling this way. Fuck how I'm feeling. I'm just going to do this anyway. Right? That one skill we teach to a degree. Obviously not to the degree he does.
Yeah.
But there's two different types of therapies. One is called dialectical behavior therapy that has a technique called opposite action. And it's very, very basic. It's not anything that's going to blow anyone's mind, but it's useful. And it's basically you understand that just because you feel one way doesn't mean...
If you need to get a little closer,
Yeah.
you can just...
Okay. Just because you feel one way doesn't mean you have to act on it. And it's a weird, it's almost like a jujitsu trick, right? Because it's very little energy. You're not trying to force against your brain. You're just having the understanding of I want to lay here. And most people associate what they want with what they're going to do, but that's not necessarily linked,
Okay.
right? So I want to lay here, and at the same time, I'm going to get up, and you just get up. They have this technique in also a different therapy called acceptance commitment therapy. They called it cognitive fission.
Wait. Before you
Yeah.
go to the... Can you go a little deeper in the first one? Just a little more to understand a little better. So what was that again? It was so you feel like doing stuff. You doesn't mean that you necessarily have to do it. And trying to battle that desire of doing things in that instant probably help you. That wouldn't...
Because we think, let's say you want to eat a chocolate bar, right? And in your mind, you're like, I really want to eat this chocolate bar. And you associate what you want with what you do. So you think before I can have action to do the healthy action, I have to feel like I want to push myself towards eating a salad instead, right? So it's it becomes a mental battle. Whether I have a chocolate bar, whether I have a salad, and then you try really hard to tease it out and fight. You don't have to fight. You just have to realize just because you want something doesn't mean you do it. And it's such a weird, it's like a mental trick you have to experience. But it comes like with everything with practice, right? It doesn't just happen because I told everyone now and now everyone knows about it, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have to practice it. You realize like, oh, I don't want to exercise today. And then sometimes I'll be like, yeah, I believe me, right? I don't want to exercise today and I'm still going to. That's it.
Okay.
It's not like an argument. I'm not having an argument. It's almost
Okay.
like you're talking to a child, right? Like, I believe you want candy. I believe you. I 100% agree. It's delicious. You're still going to have a salad.
It seems like you were listening to me and Andres talking this morning.
Exactly.
That was our conversation this morning.
Exactly. That's beautiful. I love that. And with the acceptance commitment therapy, they have like a slightly different technique. It's actually my favorite one, and it's a little underrated. It's called cognitive fission, and it's just
Say that
understanding
again? Cognition?
cognitive fission.
Uh-huh.
So, fusion
Mm-hmm.
and fission is disconnecting, basically tearing apart. And it's just like a fancy way of saying, having like a deep understanding that you are not your feelings or your urges or even your motivation.
Mm-hmm.
You are not those things. Because again, most people, like I'm going to tell you right now, motivation, that's a trap.
Okay.
That's a trick your brain plays on you, that you need to be motivated before you can do something. That's how I would say most people fail. And I feel like you even know this because, dude, you're one of the most disciplined people I know, right? You do so many things, and I don't think it's because I'm sure there's some motivation to it. I'm not saying there's none, but I feel like you have a discipline to it too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you come in and you do it. Like I don't know if it's whether it's your art or whether it's like your businesses or your podcast. You just do it, right? You're not like saying like I'm really motivated to do it today.
Yeah, no. I don't even think about it.
Yeah,
I don't. I don't even think about the outcome.
yeah,
I just think about I want to do whatever it is, right?
mm-hmm.
Like, for example, tattooing. I need to go tattoo today, and I don't think like, oh yeah, I gotta do a badass tattoo. I gotta be cool. I don't think about any of that. I just feel like I gotta go to tattoo. That's what I have to be done today, right?
Yeah,
And of course, excite me. I get super excited. I have to go and do it, and
Yeah.
and I'm happy all day doing it and stuff. But I pretty much never thinking about you. You're kind of right. I'm not thinking like, okay, I need motivation to do this or that. It just happen,
yeah.
right?
And it's so weird because people understand this with the things that they're successful with, but when things they're unsuccessful with, for whatever reason, the script turns to like, I need to be motivated to do this, and that's your brain trapping you. That's your brain like telling you, oh,
Another of
you
those.
have to feel this way in order to do it, and that's a lie. You don't have to feel a certain way. So cognitive fission is just understanding that like, you are not your motivation. You are not even your thoughts, right? Like I don't know if TMI, you've ever like, I don't know, what's a good example? I don't know, you ever thought about punching someone, right? Because you got
Very
angry at
often.
them? Exactly. It doesn't mean you have to like punch them, right? That's like one example.
I don't think about punching people,
No,
but I know what you
but
mean.
the idea is like you even that thought of like the urge to punch him, that's not necessarily you. That's just a reaction you have sometimes, right? Like you anger reaction. You're not like cognitively thinking, I think it would be a good idea to punch him. It's like a
Road
reaction.
rage is a good
Yeah,
example for
road
that.
rage. Yeah,
It happens so fast that you
Yeah.
feel like you wanna,
yeah,
crash somebody out of the street. No,
Exactly.
I don't really want to do it. But you know what?
yeah.
The
Exactly
anger and all of
that.
that happen when you see people doing, crappy shit.
Yeah.
Comes so fast to your brain
Yeah.
that you don't really think, I would react this way. You just
Exactly.
think it, right? You just
Yeah. So cognitive fusion usually happens negatively because, for in the example of road rage, that was a perfect example. Thank you for helping me out there. Because usually people think, for example, in the example of road rage, I'm so angry he cut me off. I'm gonna fucking kill him. And then you feel ashamed, like, oh my God, how could I think that? You feel ashamed because you're taking responsibility, like as if that thought was your choice, right? We have a lot of thoughts that this might be, a lot of people might disagree, but I believe this 100%. We have a lot of thoughts and feelings that are not our choice. It's how we were wired growing up, and we have the ability to change them, but a lot of them just happen, right? Road rage, anger, boom, it happens. Yeah, like that's how you're wired and you can change it, but right now that just appeared, right?
yes.
It's almost like taking responsibility for the weather. Like, fuck, why did I make it rain? That's how we describe it, right? If you do the fission and you're like, oh, look, it's road rage, it actually doesn't impact your behavior anymore. It has no power. to impact your behavior if you just see it as a separate entity of like with the weather. Like, oh, a cloud just passed. Okay. Doesn't mean you have to do something.
Yeah, well, it makes so much sense.
Yeah.
I never seen it that way.
Yeah.
So since I became a father,
Mm-hmm.
I'm also, or maybe can we address, or maybe can with the age. I'm not 100% sure where it came because you get older and you kind of get a little more mature, or you should at least.
Yeah.
So this necessity for me to try to be less of an asshole, or like it's, I'm a lot more conscious of trying to don't be perceived as something that I don't believe I am.
Mm-hmm.
But for some reason, I keep putting myself in that way out there.
Mm-hmm.
So many people will easily agree that I'm an asshole, right?
Really?
But that's what I think also. Really? Like, I don't feel like I'm an asshole, man. I try to do good to people. I try to
I never got that
be the
impression
best I
from you.
can. Sometimes I'm cranky, but I'm cranky, And again, I go, something that I've been kind of learning through this process of being mature or older or father is that all of this, I feel it comes more from me being insecure than me trying to be like egocentric or maniac or when I try to be control freak about things I wanted to operate the way I wanted to operate, let's say with the business or whatever, most of the time is I don't want it to fail. And I don't want people around me to fail. So it's not like I'm trying to post something just to prove that I'm a boss or to try to prove that I'm strong or to try to prove that I'm an alpha or anything like that. It's just, first I want people to be happy. And when I do things that help me in my career or whatever, I just share that information with everybody around me because possibly gonna help them, right? But many times I get perceived as an asshole, like a cranky person or whatever. Like it might not help that I never smile, kind of, or that I'm always like that. Even when I'm happy tattooing, I'm like that. This thing here is my son is like that already.
So
He's
funny.
5. He's my daughter. She says, "Javi, why you mad?" But she said already, like making fun of me. We're watching a movie. We're watching whatever movie. I don't know, Lion King or anything. Whatever is super nice, and I'm like that. And she's like, "Why you mad?" I'm not mad, but she's making fun of me already. So maybe all of that helps, right? Or sometimes I come strong. Just to try to control situations that I'm afraid can go out of the way, right?
Yeah.
The point is that I don't want to be perceived as something I believe I am not. So I've been making extra effort to try to notice patterns on my behavior, that I know they're not healthy and I'm trying to fix it. But not because I notice it and not because I know it's unhealthy or wrong to do it, it means that it's been easy. And something that I try to put a lot of effort, for example, is being on road rage. I used to get super angry super quick. And now I try to don't do it. But still the anger comes. Hit you very hard in the chest. You feel like, oh!
Yeah.
But very quick I try to, okay, whatever. Then somebody's flicking at you like, fuck you, or whatever. Or trying to, and you're like, okay, it's okay. Let him be.
Yeah.
Okay, you win, brother. You win. It's okay. You caught me. It's okay. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But what I'm trying to say is that even though I try to keep it calm and don't let it get in me because it doesn't make any sense at all. I'm not really, interested in winning and argue with somebody in the streets or
Yeah.
that was a good approach that you had. Like you have to recognize that those thoughts are not you.
Yeah.
And you don't, not because you have the thought, you have to automatically react to it.
Exactly.
So
And you even go to like the level of understanding that it's okay that came up, and that's usually what's hardest for people to take in, because it's usually if someone's trying to change something about themselves, it's the part they don't like, right?
Yes.
So the last thing they want to do is accept, like, oh, this is a part of me, that's okay. Right? This is the hardest step, but that's the step. And to like clarify, accepting something doesn't mean permitting it or saying this is good behavior or this is excusable. It's simply saying that this is happening now and that's okay, right? That's fine. Not the behavior again, but the thought or the feeling, because that's just a response. So what would happen is, I guess I would first say, like, anytime you're using will or motivation, you're creating a battle within your mind, right? The thing that you want to do that's maybe a negative habit versus the thing that you want to do that's maybe a good habit, right? The problem is you're fighting this war with yourself. It's like a civil war.
Mm-hmm.
And in every civil war, the country itself loses, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's just how it is. So don't go for a war. Don't ever go for a war. You don't win, really. Even if you do the good habit, you're exhausted and you're going to be weaker for the later battle that's going to come up inevitably, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you're noticing yourself having like an internal battle of I want to do this, I want to do that, just say like, oh, look, that's happening. That's also a reaction. That is also something that I do. That's okay. I don't have to act on either of these. I'm just going to do my thing, whatever it may be, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this actually leads me into answering your question that you asked, like if there's one thing I can give to everybody, right? I have thought about this before because I'm trying to think of like, now that I've been thinking more from that perspective of like, how do you go deeper into human behavior?
Mm-hmm.
Now I was thinking more broadly, like how do I help as many people as possible? What is like the one thing that most people can benefit from, right? That can help
Like the common grounds, right?
yeah, the most foundational
The
level.
foundation.
And that could even work for like, because like you said, everyone's an individual. How can I give one thing? So in a nutshell, it would probably be meditation.
Oh yeah.
Meditation is the one thing you can do to help yourself on so many levels. And it builds this thing called metacognitive awareness, which is exactly what you demonstrated when you said, every time I got mad at my girlfriend, I went to smoke a cigarette. The fact that you were aware of that, you were aware of your thinking pattern, you were aware of your reactions, that's what meditation trains. Being aware of yourself and how your mind works. That's all it is, right? The idea is if you know how things work, you have a better idea of how to change it or how to fix it, right?
Definitely.
Because the first thing about like knowing how to fix a problem is you have to acknowledge like, oh, this is the problem.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have to acknowledge like the full spectrum of the problem. Like, oh, this is the problem. It's not like this. It's like this whole thing. And then you could start to work from there. So meditation, I'm actually training as a meditation teacher training.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So it's a 2-year program. And it's with these like really awesome people I've been following for years. So it's very exciting.
Awesome. Man. What is that here in Norwalk area? Or?
It's online. It's based in San Francisco.
Oh,
though.
cool.
Yeah. So they have things at this is pre-COVID. They had seminars a couple times a year at San Francisco and at DC. But since COVID, everything's just completely online now.
I know, man.
Yeah. So
Hopefully soon gonna be open, you know. Like.
yeah. But it's meditation in a very simple term is just
For how long have you been meditating yourself?
like 6-7 years, something like that.
Since you adopted it?
Yeah, regularly. Before then, I did it intermittently, but it's almost like a muscle. You have to kind of commit a little bit of consistency to it before you get the results.
Yes. When you said now you do it for 5-6 years or 7 regularly, regularly. Then some of those words are inevitably. One day I gotta get them. That's the reason that I decided I want to do a podcast because I recognize my English is so grown and you know and my accent is so strong that and that way that you have to talk that you kind of roll words and eat letters and then it's hard to understand what you're trying to say. I was like, okay, if I do a podcast, my idea is to do it in English and in Spanish. So I got some friends that are gonna come that speak Spanish. So they're gonna push me to try to help it to become better, right?
I love it.
Right, because I'm all day just tattooing, and
Yeah.
if I talk to my client is so polite that he like, yeah, I understand whatever you're trying to say, but you know, it's like, so I'm trying to make an effort to. Right now, this is the second time I see and record, so I'm trying to keep in my mind many things at the same time. Like, is the microphone volume good? Is we close enough? Is the machine working? Is the camera working? You know, I'm trying to.
Right.
It's hard to focus on my pronunciation of words.
Right.
I'm just talking out of my mind without even thinking too much about what I'm doing. But I have the hopes that when I keep doing this and I really learn the process of all these machines are properly connected and all of that, then I don't need to focus on that. I will be focused more on whatever I'm saying, right? Or how I'm saying it.
Right.
And so meditation, right? 6-7 years doing it regularly.
Yeah.
How you say that word?
Regularly.
Oh, regularly.
You got it. You're getting there. You're getting
Regularly.
there. Yeah.
Yeah. So, what it means regularly for you? In your case, it's like 3 times a week, 5 times a week, every other day,
every day.
every day.
Yeah.
In the mornings, evenings.
Mostly in the mornings.
Uh-huh.
If I forget, I'll just do it during my break at work.
Okay.
It's nice because you could do it anywhere.
Definitely.
And kind of, you know how you were talking about when you were motivating yourself to like run or something, you'd set your clothes out so you don't have to think when you wake up. You just like put on the clothes and go. It's kind of similar in that way, right? A lot of people think that they have to meditate for a long time for it to count, right? Like if I do this little, it doesn't count. But that's like a barrier your brain is putting up. It's an excuse,
Again,
right?
one of those.
It's saying like it needs to be this much. So, and again, this is like me talking, right? Like I told you with me being late to class. If I'm not 10 minutes early, it doesn't count. I don't go at all. I still have the same mindset. It's less, so it's less harmful, but it's still something I have to face on a day-to-day basis, right? Because I want to be perfect in everything, but I have to realize that even a little bit counts, right?
Definitely.
So I'll set if I miss a day, for example, in the morning, and I'm at work, I'll be like, okay, I'll just set like a 1 minute timer while I have nothing to do, and I'll meditate for 1 minute. Okay. And then I'll do that again, like maybe several times throughout the day. And that adds up to maybe 10 minutes.
So what kind of meditation you follow? Self-awareness? What kind of meditation process you follow?
Yeah, I do many.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I've done all kinds. I wouldn't even know where to start. Like mindfulness meditation is like
mindfulness,
the standard kind of. That's the one I'm being trained in right now as a teacher. But
I would say for beginners or whatever, it's kind of the easiest one, even though it's not that easy to do. That's the one I do, and I don't do that like many other things. I don't do it in certain rhythm. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like I just do it some days I skip it.
Yeah.
And that is something I really want to gain to do a certain time every day. This, half an hour, whatever, 20 minutes to do it every day at the same time.
Yeah.
Because for me, it's good to create a kind of a structure. You know what I mean?
Right.
At least in the beginnings. Once you really become good, possibly it's gonna be easier to do at that time without really having to create a structure. It's gonna be your structure. Or you can do it any time of the day for 1 minute and still you can get some help out of that.
Right.
But in the beginning, starting, trying to do 1 minute a day during the day is impossible because I sit down, I don't try to get any weird pose or anything like that. Weird meaning uncomfortable for me or whatever. I just sit. I just
do whatever.
Sometimes I go to the basement in the house, let's say, because it's super quiet in the morning, very early in the morning, so I can't see in any corner, even in a chair or whatever, and just close that eye and start breathing and focus on that breathing and trying to let go, right?
Yeah.
All the thoughts, but it's so hard because automatically I start like thinking about whatever. Today I have to do this, that too.
Right.
Tomorrow I have to do that. So all those thoughts start coming,
So
right?
you're familiar with this process?
Kinda, yeah. Up to a certain point, right? So I start to block the thoughts again. Not to block them, but just to stop giving them attention. So the thoughts comes and I try to let it slide.
Right.
And don't keep thinking about it. Just try to focus on the sound of the air coming out of the
right.
Or focus on that sound more than anything else and trying to count the time that I'm breathing or do something that keep me away from thinking. And that's when you really feel like you're going somewhere with that.
Yeah. So
but it's hard.
Let me ask you something then. What is your understanding of meditation when you have thoughts? What do you do?
What I try to do is just don't give them attention. Let it slide. So, for example,
so they come up, like, let's say you think I have to do this today. I have to do this.
Automatically, it comes, like, for example, okay, today I have to record this podcast and this episode, right? And then I'm like, okay, don't think about that. Like, I try to think about, don't think about that. It's not the moment, right? And then breathe in. So I feel like the thoughts kind of trying to break in, stay there. But now I'm not really thinking about it. I'm not thinking like, possibly I try to keep it right there in the, I have to do the podcast today, kind of looping instead of So to do that, I have to get ready at this time, and I have to take a shower, and I have to, oh, the computer, yes, the camera. Instead of keep going with the thoughts,
Right.
I just try to keep it.
Uh-huh.
Okay, don't think about it. Don't think about it. Don't think about it. Let it go.
And how do you feel when it comes up?
So,
Are you like, oh, okay, cool, or are you like, oh, fuck?
like, meaning when that thought comes in,
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't recall thinking about. Sometimes what I think in
Like
the beginning,
how you feel,
what
like when it comes, because
What-
a lot of people, I'm just asking.
I just feel sometimes I feel like a little frustrated. Let's say,
Yeah, yeah.
It's just that frustration, like why I cannot stop thinking,
Right.
why I cannot just relax.
Yeah.
I need this moment just to relax, no moment to think, right?
Right.
So I feel like that little anxiety kind of
Yeah.
coming, like why I'm thinking,
Yeah.
I need to stop thinking.
Yeah.
But I since I start trying to meditate,
Mm-hmm.
I've been like I acknowledge that that's part of the process. That the thoughts are impossible to stop.
Yeah.
They gotta come. You know,
Yeah.
they're alive. They're not even you thoughts. They're just thoughts, right?
Exactly.
So they gotta come,
Exactly.
and they're gonna try to get you distracted. So don't fight the idea that that thought is coming. You just try to find a way to stop to keep progressing, and that's it, in that thought, right? That,
Yeah.
At least that's what I try to do.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know how to do better
Yeah.
because I hear people that go to a social blank state of mind that they can put, like, I don't know, almost have a psychedelic trip. Like they can transcend farther than the moment. Yeah, I hear
Yeah.
all of that. I
No.
cannot do any of that.
Yeah. No.
Any of that. I just try to focus on my breathing. I just try to focus on being present. When a thought comes, I try to think about, if I'm crossing my legs, for example, I try to think about where my foot is right now.
Right.
So I try to focus on the sensation of the foot touching the floor, for example, and then in the sound of the breathing. But I try to focus on something else that is not the thought. So I try to don't feed the thought to get out of control, right?
Yeah.
Because that's what I do all day long.
Yeah.
You know, have tons of thoughts that get out of control.
Right. So first of all, good job, period.
Thank you.
The whole frustration part, that the reason I was asking was a lot of people struggle with that, because even though meditation's like such a weird thing, if you think about it, it's like a thing that you have a goal, and usually when we have a goal, we don't understand how to reach toward a goal without being frustrated when we don't hit it. Do you know what I mean? Because that's usually our motivator to hit the goal. So in the same way, usually when people have a thought, they get frustrated by the thought, but a big part of meditation is non-judgment. That's a key component, and it's kind of what you were talking about with the process. You have to understand the thoughts are going to come. That's part of the process. And so any kind of like frustration is ironically keeping you, at the same time it's part of the meditation experience, it's also keeping you from the meditation experience, right? Because the frustration means you judged it as wrong. It's like, oh, this shouldn't have happened, fuck, I messed up, fuck. And that's a judgment. So there's another level to it. As you start to get more practice with mindfulness, like I'm a kind of a big proponent of trying out different meditation styles to see what fits your personality best. I think you could benefit from any of them if you just focused on one long enough.
That work with many different things, right? Like,
right. Yeah.
Like I want to exercise, but maybe doing push-ups in my basement is not the best way because I'll be bored. But if I try jiu-jitsu, then I entertain. So you have to try it, right?
Exactly.
Maybe jiu-jitsu was good, but let me try something else. Maybe that's better.
Yeah.
Oh no, it wasn't better. This is what it works better for me.
Exactly.
So that kind of try different things, right?
Precisely. And so the big thing is like understanding that, okay, maybe this one doesn't work for me, but I can still learn from it, right? I can still learn different skills from it. So the next level from after like mindfulness, for example, and this is where we get into how this becomes helpful for mental health or for nutrition or for exercise or any kind of way you're trying to better yourself, is it's called insight meditation. Are you familiar with that at all?
No.
It starts off with a mindfulness base, right? So you start off exactly what you were doing. The exception is when something comes up, like I'm going to do a podcast today, you look at that. That's your focus of meditation now.
Oh, wow.
And you're like, oh, that's interesting. Some anxiety's there. again, non-judgmental, right? It's just that you could bring a sense of like curiosity is harmless. Curiosity is like really good because it's not, curiosity is not about judgment, right? It's about discovering.
Yes.
And discovering is not judgmental. You're not trying to look for a specific thing. You're just curious. What is there, right? So if you could apply that to your thoughts and your feelings, that's where the magic happens.
So, but when you say,
Yeah.
try to keep it a little close.
Yeah.
When you say, what is the name of that one? Or the
Insight meditation.
Insight meditation.
Yeah. Sometimes called Vipassana.
Mm?
I think I don't know if it's Sanskrit or Pali. It's called Vipassana.
Oh, okay.
But people in English call it insight.
Insight. Okay. So the idea of that, for what you're saying, is, for example, right? I'm trying to meditate, mindfulness. I'm there trying to breathe or focus on my breathing and all of that. This thought comes to my mind. Oh, I have to do a podcast today, right?
Yeah.
Oh, today is podcast day. I have to record, right? My question would be, the idea is to start thinking about the podcast, like the processes. I have to do set up the microphones. I gotta make sure the volume is good. I have to make sure this, not that, right? It's more like just focus on the idea that this thought came. Not trying to develop the thought itself, but just about that thought it came and trying to see like, oh, the thought came. What it came.
Yeah.
What is trying to push me away from this? Maybe, right? Maybe.
Yeah. It's kind of just like, I think one of the devices, the metaphors they use is like being in traffic, in the car in traffic. That's like being hooked by your thought versus being off to the side watching the traffic go by. You're just trying to watch the traffic go by. The traffic is like your thoughts, your feelings, your anxiety, your frustration, your happiness, your joy, whatever. You just watch it go by. You don't try to hop in the car and go with it.
Okay.
Where it's going.
Okay. Oh, that's a good way to put it.
It was not my idea, so I'm gonna.
No, but still, it's a good way to put it. It's easy to perceive it, right?
Exactly.
To understand it that way.
And it's the same thing when I was describing like cognitive fission. They took that idea from meditation.
That will be the insight
meditation.
Insight meditation, right? That standing in the sidewalk, seeing the ideas going past, right?
Exactly.
Passing by. If you want to try to use analogy about the mindfulness, using the same, how would you describe that?
Mindfulness?
Yes, meaning mindfulness is kind of similar. It's standing in the sidewalk where cars might be passing, but trying to focus still on yourself and knowing the fact that there are things passing, right?
It's really interesting. For this training, we have a mentor, and I was trying to parse out, because there's so many different types of meditation, right? And I was talking with her about like, because I'm not very good with terminology in general. I'm like the worst person with nutrition, strength and conditioning, with mental health, and with meditation. I'm not good with like vocabulary. I'm good with concepts and I'm good with teaching. I'm not good with like, this is the exact word for this, right?
I
this
understand
phenomenon. So I was like, I'm trying to understand. I was talking to her and saying how I'm trying to understand the difference between like insight meditation and self-inquiry and what we're doing here, mindfulness meditation and self-compassion and like metta, loving kindness and Tonglen. Like, how do these interact? Because they all seem kind of similar to each other, although they are different. And she said, well, the way she described it is like mindfulness is like polyamorous.
A what?
Polyamorous.
What is a polyamorous?
When you have more than one partner in a relationship.
Oh, polygamy in Spanish.
Yeah.
How you said it in English?
Oh, because you could say polygamy. That's when you're married.
Oh,
but polyamory is just like boyfriend, girlfriend.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So she said mindfulness is polyamorous, right? It works with everything, but it's how you choose to take. Because mindfulness is, I think, roughly defined as awareness of the present moment, non-judgmentally.
Yes.
If you can do those three things, awareness, present, non-judgment, that's mindfulness. Now, where you take that, what are you mindful? What is present, right? Are you present of your hand, or are you present of your feelings that are happening now? Or there's like self-inquiry which is kind of like it's a more, how do I put this? It's like a consciousness-based meditative style, and it's more like India, and I think Sri Lanka also has a version of it, but it's more trying to find out the root of consciousness, right? Like so like in mindfulness, we were just talking about you're on the sidewalk watching the traffic go by in insight meditation, right?
And inside meditation.
Yeah. Using that metaphor, mindfulness means you're there. You're not thinking about the future or the past. And that's a prerequisite to watching what's currently passing by, right? So you need to have mindfulness in order to do insight. But you could also do mindfulness and just focus on your feet. And that's mindfulness of the body, right?
Okay.
Self-inquiry is like that same, the traffic and you're on the sidewalk metaphor. Self-inquiry is like asking, who is that person watching? How could I have a separate person who's watching something else? How are there more than one person in here? Like, what's going on? So you try to find out, discover like what is there. And that's another route towards that equanimity. And,
Have you ever, I'm sure you have, but have you ever have this thought of thinking of something, not speaking, right? You're thinking about something and being aware that there is kind of a separate mind, noticing how you're thinking about that stuff.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly. Yeah.
When I was little, it started when I was very little. I was always so like, how many levels I can go? Like, okay, I gotta count, for example, in my mind, right?
Yeah.
Quiet. 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever. Right? Then I try to, okay, counting 1, 2, 3. So it's like a loud or louder thought, right? But now I can think, okay, I'm counting those numbers, right? You're counting and you're thinking about counting those numbers. And then somehow you keep trying to push it and you're like, now I can see how I'm thinking about counting those numbers. So it's like now you 3 levels of thinking.
Yes.
And I just used to think about that when I was young, right? And keep thinking about it, I never explored where that come from or what is that or anything.
Yeah.
But it always was interesting to me, you know. I don't know how I kind of forgot until right now.
Yeah.
I never thought anymore about it. But what is that? You know anything about it?
That's metacognition. That's what we were talking about. Where I was like, that's the secret to everything. So like, it's amazing you were able to tap into that when you were younger, right? Because that's the secret of self-awareness, but not just in terms of like saying like thinking about yourself, right? It's really just noticing. And it's a weird differentiation.
It is
thinking versus just noticing.
No, it's super different.
But it is different. Yeah,
it's super different.
And so
it's not just like you stop and think, okay, I am Javier, I'm 44, I'm cranky all the time. I love I don't know, whatever. Yeah. It's not about that. It's more about, you can be thinking about that and then it's like a little extra voice or something inside of you. Looking at that scene happening. Why are you thinking about that? That's not even important. Why you need to? You know what I mean? It's
so
that
in meditation,
extra.
Sometimes they call that the watcher. Who is the watcher? And self-inquiry goes, who is the watcher? Who is that? Like you try to find the source of the watcher cognitively. And then that's that form of meditation, right? So it starts off with that awareness that you were doing, and then it goes into seeking, like, who is that? What is that, right?
It's so amazing, right?
Yeah.
The thing that's going on inside of us that keep us present. The ego, right? The ego.
Exactly.
Us, we, me.
Yeah.
I'm aware that I am me.
Yeah.
But who is that is aware? Exactly. What is that?
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Have you done this before?
All the time.
Yeah.
Too much sometimes. Yeah. It's a problem when you are introverted.
Introverted? Yeah.
Yeah, like I grew up being introverted. I'm being always I push myself to be a little more social, not than awkward social. Yeah. You know, like being able to talk to people and say hi and spend some time with people. But most of the time, I am there, you know, somewhere in the corner thinking. Yeah, all the time.
With you, man. I'm the same.
So I go to parties and people like, man, you never hang out, whatever. My wife's so mad at me. You go to a party, but you're always by yourself. With your face, you know. And I don't really do it intentionally. I just somehow I realize, I'm again here by myself, away from everybody. How long I've been here? You know what I mean? And I was thinking about tons of stuff that you think, right?
Yeah. Oh, I'm the same way, dude. I'm 100% the same. So I had to learn social skills, actually.
Yeah, I try. I try to learn what is appropriate way to be and force myself to do it, you know, to hang out more with people and talk to people. Yeah. And, like, the idea of me going to somebody else's house and hang out there is so random, you know. And I see everybody doing it, and I love when I see people doing it.
Yeah.
To a point that, I would like to do that. I would like to go to somebody's house and just visit, you know.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I feel like, what would I be doing in people's houses? Respect people's privacy. You know what I mean? It's just so used to be by myself, like in my thoughts all the time, right? So when you like that, you have plenty of time to start thinking about who is thinking inside of my mind. Is somebody else there? I'm becoming crazy? What is going on, right?
Yeah. Actually, I read this book recently. It's called Symphony of Selves. It's written by a PhD, a researcher in many things, one of which is including psychedelics, actually. And the other one is a psychologist. And they talk about, like, I'm sure you heard of they don't call it this anymore, but multiple personality disorder.
Yeah,
now they call it dissociative identity. And they said that's like the only way we have seen having multiple selves inside our head has been through that lens of like, oh, it's a sickness. But what they argue is like, that's normal. Everybody has multiple parts inside of them, and it's healthy. The idea is like, you're supposed to, right? Because you're not supposed to be the same person as a father that you are as a husband, or are you as a friend, right? They are supposed to be different people.
Yes.
So you bring different attributes forward, different parts of you forward, and other ones step back, right?
Yes, makes sense.
So it was just so interesting to me, because this is actually blowing up. There's a different type of therapy now called internal family systems, which I think is so great. I want to get licensed in it. But like I'm taking on so many things, so I need to wait a little bit, you know.
I know.
But it's all about, they call it parts work for like slang.
How do you call it?
Like parts work, like parts and then work.
Part to work.
Yeah. And basically you have parts of yourself, like if we're doing the exercise example, right? You would have the part of you that doesn't want to do it, right? And you would have the part of you that does want to do it. And maybe the part of you that does want to do it is being like, come on, don't be lazy. And then you would talk to that part, say like, hey, could you step aside just for a second, because I want to talk to this guy who doesn't want to do it, like all in your head, right?
Yeah.
It's not like out loud. And then you start to ask the person who doesn't want to do it, like what the part that doesn't want to do it. You're like, what's going on? Why don't you want to exercise? And then they'll talk to you and they'll say something. And usually what this gets to, I did it just informally in one of the groups I was running, and it had such crazy success. I was amazed. And this is what the guy says, the guy who created it. He's like, it's surprising. It sounds so simple and stupid, but it works so well, because you start to learn that when you put aside the part that's like attacking yourself, right? Like I was talking about the Civil War before. If you just put that aside for a second and you listen to the part that doesn't want to do it, you learn so much about yourself that you would not have known. And being like, oh, I thought it was because of this, but it's actually because of this, right? And then you're like, okay, I get that. So if we had a part that was supportive of this part, would you want to go to the gym now? And sometimes they go like, yeah, okay, I'm comfortable with that.
Wow.
And
it makes sense, man.
Yeah.
It makes sense, because in the outer world,
Yeah.
no one is inside of your mind, but when you in relationship with your friends or whatever, exactly the same thing. If somebody's doing something that you consider is negative, or you don't want to participate, or it's something that you don't like or whatever, and you start arguing, that person gonna try to defend their point.
Yeah.
And you gotta just argue, protecting your point.
Right.
Right?
Yes.
But you're not really 100% trying to understand the other person's point.
Exactly.
And then that battle, most of the time, take nowhere.
Well said.
That is good, right?
Yeah.
It's just take you to worst part, probably separation, no more friendships, no more girlfriends or wife or whatever, right?
Exactly.
When you keep just fighting. So it's a good point.
The problem
inside of your mind.
You're stuck. You're stuck with them.
yourself,
You
right?
can't say like, I'm not your friend anymore. Well, you're still there.
I know. I have said a couple of times. Trust me. But no. But it makes sense. Like now, when it's inside of your mind, it's recognizing that constant argue. Come on, you're so lazy, Javier. You know you have to do it. Why you not doing it? Come on, just do it. Come on, why you feel? Instead of being the argue, it's like, okay, let's stop. This Javier that is battling with that lazy Javier, let's say, just step out of the way and let the other Javier that is more peaceful somewhere, just trying to communicate, or the one that is willing, that knowing that he wants to go to the gym and love the sensation out of the gym process, whatever, let him communicate to the one
Mm-hmm.
that is you, that argue one, the
Yeah.
one that loves to argue, get out of the way for a second and left the one saying no to the one saying yes, please,
Yeah.
to communicate to see if they find a happy medium where,
Yeah.
right? It makes sense.
And the important thing that I love about of this type of therapy, which I think is so helpful, because a lot of people, and in mental health, clinicians and doctors, they have this idea that I think is mistaken, that mental illness is, how do I put this? For the most part, like a pathology, like it's a disease. I don't think it's a disease. I think it's adaptations that no longer function. So it means they functioned at one point. They were created for a reason, like right.
Yes.
We evolved them for a reason, but now they no longer work. They're hurting us more than they help us. So in the parts work, what I really like is that they say every one of your parts, even the ones that are now self-destructive, at one point they were helping you. So every part in your mind is there to help you. They just are not doing it well, right?
Yes.
So that's like the big. It's like a very humanistic part of it, and that's like a big part of how I do my work as well, right?
So I don't know if this makes sense or not, but thinking over your words, right? Not something I thought before. Just thinking right now is definitely all these different situations that you create with yourself, all these learning, all these knowledge that you have already, or ways to act in front of situations, right? It makes sense. They were there because we evolved. We need them. We use them. And even though right now, that one Javier in my mind that is saying, bro, don't go to the gym. Ugh, who want to go to the gym tomorrow, whatever. Even though it's kind of creating a problem or a conflict to the one that needs, for health reasons, to go to the gym and be active, is working against me. It doesn't mean that I have to neutralize 100% and get it out of the way and never use it again.
Yeah.
Still, we need that Javier because he's just trying to protect you, right?
Exactly.
That sometimes the lazy Javier, let's call it lazy Javier, it's not there because it's lazy. It's just because you evolve from a human being that never have food around. You have to go and hunt or trying to find any fruit that can find or whatever, right? And it takes time. So once you finally find it, you don't want to be boaching around, burning the energy. You have to protect it, right? Because you never know when you're going to find it again.
Yeah.
So you got to do whatever you need to do in order for you to find more energy, more calories, more food, more whatever you need. You need to rest and don't burn the extra energy that you don't need to burn. So all of that created that path in your brain that don't waste energy, right? It's just that nowadays we just sit around, we drive cars to work. I'm a tattoo artist, so I see all day long, So now we don't really too much in the burning extra calories. We actually kind of consuming way too many calories now. It's so easy to get in, right?
Yeah.
But the brain is still programmed by evolution to protect yourself, right? From to give you comfort too, and also to protect those calories, and also to prevent you to get injured and all of that kind of thing. So that brain is there still, right? The presence in your evolution. It's just that now we need to adapt it to the current times, and for the current times, we need to exercise. We need to create that way to burn energies and get the body strong. Because we know walking miles a day to try to hunt and then carry an animal and or 5 wars outside in the, you know what I mean, in the fields.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but even though we now need to create all that kind of battles. Now we need to create the ways to exercise and create, more muscles or whatever you need to, to be healthier. It doesn't mean that the other part is 100% wrong. They still need to be there for those other occasions when you really need them.
Exactly.
To be protected by, to be,
Because that's all, at the end of the day, that's usually what the dysfunctional part is doing. That we label dysfunctional, right? It's trying to protect you. It's protecting you in some way. right? And we see it as like, oh, you're killing me, you know.
Yeah.
But it's saying like, no, I'm protecting you. You gotta trust me.
I think that is when we go back to again, like it's about the balance, right?
Yeah.
So yes, this side it might be acting wrong right now,
Mm-hmm.
but it's for a reason.
Yeah.
It's just finding the way to manage it, to
Mm-hmm.
deal with it, for a happy medium where let me exercise, stop
Mm-hmm.
pulling me, to the bed.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, leave it there. The whole point is not just to go so crazy, for example, to
Mm-hmm.
that side that you don't even rest. You now want to work out 3 times a day
Mm-hmm.
and don't eat because you want to lose weight,
Mm-hmm.
and then don't sleep because that's wasting time. So
Mm-hmm.
then you're killing yourself.
Yeah.
If
Mm-hmm.
you completely neutralize the other side that is telling you, bro, okay, exercise, but you need to rest.
Exactly.
Exercise, but you need to eat better.
Yeah.
At the same time, you don't want to go to that place that just eat crap all day long and just rest all
Exactly.
day long. Don't
Yeah.
go to work because for what,
Mm-hmm.
and don't go to exercise because for what.
Yeah.
Just rest and eat because you need to protect those energy for the future. It's also wrong, right?
Right.
So it's about finding the happy medium.
Exactly.
Wow, man.
That's where it always comes back to, I think.
So you told me that you did research, right, yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So that research was what you told me based on nutrition,
Oh, for nutrition?
and health, how they were linked.
Yeah.
So what kind of research you did, like specifically?
Like what I found out between mental health and nutrition, or just nutrition in general?
Whatever you're doing that you apply now for work or
Oh, right now I'm in mental health.
mm-hmm.
So like right now I just got my master's degree in social work, and it's specifically in clinical social work. So it's basically like mental health. I work at a hospital. It's a psychiatric hospital specifically. I work with people now who I work with 2 different populations. One of them is men who have dual diagnosis. So that means like addiction and mental illness together.
Wow.
And then the other population is kind of high self-harm. So like cutting and high suicide rate.
Wow.
Yeah. So like those are the two. I work at 2 different buildings within this hospital. And like a lot of, it's so funny because a lot of the stuff I learned, right, it's applicable across a lot of things. The only difference with this is like the stakes are kind of higher, right? Because it's someone's life.
Yes.
So it's the same thing as like, I guess you could say nutrition, it's also someone's life, but it's prolonged, right?
Mm-hmm,
like you can shorten your life by eating bad, but it's not immediately there. Whereas for someone who has suicidal thoughts, right? For me to work with them and support them in understanding, like you could have suicidal thoughts, just like we were talking about. You could have thoughts about road rage. You just don't have to listen to them. They're there right now. We're working on it. But in the meantime, just acknowledge that they're there and you don't have to act on them. So what a lot of people have who are chronically suicidal, self-harming, stuff like that, addiction as well, is that they have a very strong cognitive fusion going on. They think because they feel that way, they have to do it. It's stronger than average population, right? Mm-hmm. It's very strong. So that's why a lot of people who have these illnesses, they act impulsively because there's no difference between what they feel and what they do. It has to be the same. So when you disconnect them, it becomes very powerful for them, right? Wow. Whereas for like people who are more mentally healthy and stable, it's not so difficult for us to. We obviously have some things that, I feel this way, so I'm going to do this. But there's other ways where we kind of have that ability to like censor ourselves. Like I'm not going to tell a dude, fuck you, just because I really want to, right? Whereas for them, it's like, I have to do it. I have to. It's like a compulsion almost, right? It actually reminded me a lot about what you said. I don't know if you were talking about yourself or other people, but you were like, you want to be healthy, right? Mm-hmm. And you want to like have a healthier body and like, healthier blood work and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. And you tried so hard and you just can't, right?
Yes.
That's very important to acknowledge because it demonstrates that like you want it and it's super important, but you're unable to do it. And it's like very similar to how these people are in the same way. Obviously, nobody wants to be suicidal, right? Nobody wants to be hooked on drugs. They hate themselves so much for that. I can't even tell you the amount of shame they feel. And they can't stop. It's a compulsion. It's like very, very strong. So the biggest thing is just separating that link between their feelings and their actions. That's like a really important thing.
What is the rate of success in those cases? I've seen people that have big problems with drugs, and they go to programs and they come out, right, rehabilitation or whatever, and they're super strong, and sometime later they fall again.
Yeah.
And I have a couple of friends that are survivors or suicidal siblings, for example, right? This client of mine, her brother committed suicide, he killed himself, and she told me that he tried several times.
To kill himself or to recover?
Yes, to kill himself. But I don't know if every time, but I know that a few of those times that he tried to kill himself without success, of course. He went to a program, he tried to fix it, he got support of the family, but he went again and went again until he did it, until he was successful, right? And it's hard to understand as a family. I'm assuming because of the way how she talks about it is that how we help, right? How we help because all the family that what is happening to them is that they're thinking how we cannot get out of that mind program that he has, that is pushing you to do that. We're showing the all love, we're showing the all support. He's doing all the programs and still he cannot stop himself.
Right.
And for me, from outside, it's like it's always been scary, right? Like how we, now that my father, I don't want that to happen to my kid, right?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And then how we really help them, because I know these people that really trying to help the person and they couldn't. So how we can really help, right? When Linkin Park singer died, he killed himself. Or I don't know if he got killed himself. I think he killed himself, committed suicide. A month earlier it was, Chris Cornell, that they were kind of, he was father-in-law with other guy's kids or something. They were kind of friends and related somehow as a fathering godfather, of one of those kids or whatever. But when that happened, for some reason, I got so scared, man. I got so nervous. And I don't want to sound again like an asshole. Why I have to take a protagonist? You know what I mean? Like, it's not my ego saying, like, why I have to take it, like, about me? Why I have to feel certain way? It's just something sad and tragic that happened to other families and other people, right? But I got scared.
Yeah.
And the reason that I got scared in that moment, it was, bro, if these people, it seems from outside, right? They became famous doing what they wanted it to do. They're rocking the world. They're doing all they want. They have beautiful family, beautiful kids, and all of that, right? You will say it's enough reason to don't want to kill yourself, right?
You're right.
We know it's not. But above that, is also they're famous and they're rich, so they can get the best medication or the best doctors or the best kind of help available out there. Yeah. And it still didn't work. Yeah. So what is for us? What if that was my fear in that moment? It was, what if I fall into that path? And doom. Like, right, I was thinking, like, if somebody with fame, money, you know what I mean? Like, he can probably get access to the best of anything he needs, and still couldn't overcome the situation, right? What if it happened to me? What if I fall into that state of mind where I want to kill myself? I'm doomed because I don't have access to all of that. So that freaked me out for a long time. It touched me a lot. Then I realized I shouldn't relate it to me. It's different. Even if I got nothing, still I can overcome. It's different for every people, individualism and all of that, right? But still. Yeah.
So this is a good question. I'm happy you asked it. This is actually a big passion of mine. Like I told you, I have always not been into like getting repeat customers. I'm really interested in getting to the why. Like, why? I had the same questions you have about, like, this person had 7 relapses. Why? Why did this work for this one person? Just had one treatment, or outpatient therapist, even, not even inpatient, right? And they were okay. Whereas this person has 7 rehabilitation services and still nothing's happening. So this is something I actually gave a presentation to at the hospital in April. Yeah, it was my final project for my master's, my capstone project.
Mm-hmm.
But before I get into that, I just wanted to like touch upon some things you mentioned. Celebrities. Man, you would think that because they have money and they have all this influence that they are better off, but it's not necessarily the case.
Mm-hmm.
First off, you need to think about the negative mental health consequences of being famous and how that's worse than being nobody.
Yes, the pressure, right?
It's
of
a
having
lot. Yeah.
everybody looking
Yeah.
or at least feeling that way, right? We gotta.
Yeah. And then there's the second barrier of understanding when someone's famous, usually they get what they want, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because they have money and they have power, right? They have fame. That is less helpful with mental health because you need to let go of what you think you want to have what you actually need. So a lot of times, if these people enter a service, not all the time, they can, let's say, they said, in order for me to get better, I need this in my room, and I need this, and I need this. They don't realize it, but these are excuses. These are barriers their mind is putting up to getting better.
Mm-hmm.
So they have more of these because this is not just how they have their illness. This is also how they live their life, right? If you're a movie star, you have a writer in your trailer. You have a writer that like says, I have a trailer with only green M&Ms and this.
Mm-hmm.
And they're used to that level of like care already. And so when they have mental health care, there's an additional barrier of like, hey, you're not here to get exactly what you want. You're here to get what you need. And there's a lot of resistance sometimes.
Oh, okay.
So they have more difficulty, right? Because even though they respect maybe a doctor or a social worker as an authority figure, they also believe like, but you're also here to give me what I want.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not what treatment is, right? And it's like a hard dynamic. Despite that, though, I do believe, how do I put this? Everyone can be treated. I really believe that.
Mm-hmm.
I think the problem we have now, and this is where I get very frustrated. I'm going to like shit talk a little bit. I think mental health right now is a shit show. Treatment, mental health treatment.
How so?
It's like very behind. And at first I used to get frustrated. I used to get very frustrated because I said it's behind relative. Because I came from nutrition, which gave me some level of confidence because the research being done in nutrition is more, how do I put it? I'm not sure what the right word for it is, but it's more like hardline research, like real science research,
Mm-hmm.
than a lot of psychology is nowadays. So psychology can be a bit soft, right? In some ways, they're not as hard research, hard numbers. Now they're starting to get that way, thank God. But like me coming from a nutrition background where the studies are done so rigorously, so precisely,
Mm-hmm.
and then going to like psychology where I'm seeing things are a little loose, and I'm like, you can't prove that. Like, what the hell are you doing?
I guess in part is the complication, right? Of
That-
the difference between like food, like okay, if you eat this
Yes,
and this result shows, I can see what is happening, how they're related, right?
exactly.
So maybe if we change this for that and we do amounts and we do
Yes.
whatever it is, but we mind is just again, everybody's so different.
Exactly.
Really get to know what happened in that person through the whole life
Yeah.
that wired them to be in the position they're in right now. And we count with the information that comes from the same person.
Exactly.
And we count from memory that we know memory is
Yeah.
so bad.
Yeah.
Like my memory sucks. I
And-
cannot
and-
remember nothing
And
from
you fabricate
childhood.
it too.
You fabricate it and you repeat it a couple of times and you believe it's true.
Exactly.
It just become a real memory,
Yes.
right?
Exactly.
Like I have this certain memory of my mind that when I was like 9 or 8 or something. I don't know. I saw a huge bird,
Mm-hmm.
like huge, like probably 7 feet tall bird,
Mm-hmm.
and it wasn't there. Like, but I'm certain that I saw it,
Mm-hmm.
but it wasn't there. Like,
Yeah.
it's something like we were in the truck with my father,
Mm-hmm.
my brother, and I, the three of us, and I suddenly turned and I saw it there in the vegetation, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was there because my father lived in a farm, and I was like, "Whoa, look at that!" And then my brother turned. It was like, "Oh, I didn't see." It was like it was a bird,
Mm-hmm.
and it was huge. Like, you know what I mean? In my mind right now,
Yeah.
trying to put the equivalent would be like 7 feet.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody saw it, and I'm sure I see it.
Mm-hmm.
But at this point, I'm not even sure if that event even happened,
Mm-hmm.
or it was something that I thought it happened, and I keep repeating it, and now I believe it's true.
Mm-hmm.
And like that, many other things, right?
Yeah.
So trying to now understand somebody's conditions in the present time based on the memories that they have,
Yeah.
right? It sounds like it's complicated, at
Yeah.
least to make into numbers and precise science, right?
Exactly. So that's actually how I overcame my frustration with it, was because I realized that the problem isn't that we're so far behind in some ways. The problem is that the problem is so much more complicated. It's so much more complex. Like I was saying, the economy, right? it's This is actually a new science that's coming out called complex systems. I don't know if you've heard of it at all.
No, I haven't yet.
It's a brand new field of science.
Oh, wow.
And it deals with these things that are called complex systems, right? And it's complex system is kind of like the economy is one, our minds are another one, consciousness is a complex system. I can't really think of another one, but the idea is like where things are so interwoven and intertangled, and they create something that is greater than the sum of their parts, right? So it's not so easy to understand, right? A lot of the most kind of I don't know, for me, interesting but also unpredictable things are complex systems, right? So the other frustration for me with mental health came from this idea that about treatment, right? And by the way, now we're getting a lot better with research. Like they're doing blood work now. They're discovering blood work where they find they can, based off certain metabolites in the blood, they can tell if you're depressed. They can tell level of suicidality even from blood work. They can tell whether you've had
Wow.
bipolar disorder, mania. They can tell. This is new. This is like very, very new.
But it's already kind of proven, or is
they did a
it's
proof of
still-
study. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So now it's going to take steps for clinical trials and all this stuff, but it's
Very new.
very new. Yeah. So maybe in 5-6 years it'll be out for the public, probably the richest public, but because that's how it goes.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I was frustrated with, in addition, was the treatment. Right. I feel like, in some ways, when I was doing research, my presentation I gave to the hospital was on what's called treatment-resistant depression and treatment-refractory substance use disorder, right? So basically, fancy ways of saying people who have a mental illness, depression, that has not responded to 3 treatments or more. So basically, you tried multiple treatments, it's not working. Same thing for substance use disorder or addiction, right? This is the same thing. And I think a problem with part of the research is the fact that it's kind of generally agreed upon, because of research done, that it takes about like 7 times or so you need multiple relapses in order to get completely clean. Wow. And I'm like, is that a requirement, or is that just because we have shitty treatment right now?
Okay.
That was my question.
That's a valid question.
Yeah, because I was like,
Is that we don't understand what we're doing?
exactly. And so that's what I thought. I was like, I feel like it's because we just don't understand what we're doing. It's not that, this is what's required. So a lot of the stuff I've been into is these newer treatments that have greater results than what we had before. And it's really important to realize, like, the hardest part about mental health, I shouldn't say hardest, the most important part is you cannot help somebody who does not want to be helped. So you need them to be on board, first off, to some degree, right? And that's sometimes the hardest part, because a big part of addiction, for example, is denial or minimizing the problem. Like, oh, I'm addicted, but it's not that bad. Or like, oh, I don't have a problem. I'm okay. Or like, okay, I have a problem, but I only need this level of care, not this level of care, right? It's always minimizing because you don't want to face the problem. So that prevents the full measure of treatment, first off, because the person is deciding the least thing that they want. Very rarely do you ever see somebody who's like, yeah, give me everything you think. I will follow all of your orders. I will do whatever you say because you're the expert. I will do it and I want to get healthy. Never happens almost.
Wow.
Maybe like 10% or less of people that come in and do that. Most people are minimizing or thinking their problem's not that bad, or literally everyone else around them is exaggerating about the problem.
Yes.
So I heard that so many times. I don't have a problem. My family is just blowing everything up. So it can be really bad, like the stuff these people have done physically. And like they could have near overdoses multiple times, almost died, and they still think everyone else is making a big deal out of nothing.
Wow.
So it's really important to understand like people's mindset going in is super important. But even once you have that, it's still difficult. Even once you have someone's cooperation. So some of these newer things, like you actually mentioned psychedelics, that's a lot of the research I've been really interested in. Awesome. Because the results that they have coming out of that have been incredible.
Have you been like reading or practice? There's no practice in this area, right, yet?
No. They have it at Yale, which is...
I heard Yale has something. What is that, LSD they have or psilocybin?
Psilocybin.
Psilocybin?
Yeah. So Yale is partnered with the hospital I'm at. So I'm like...
You hospital?
Yeah.
Oh, cool, man.
So I'm like hoping like, okay, please get this treatment over here. So I talked to some people and I'm hoping that becomes a thing. But
could you go there and work with them directly?
I mean, I could ask them because my job is pretty nice. But if I can get in on that,
in that research group itself, would be cool. You're not doing any more research itself, right? No. Right now, you how you would describe operating? No,
like I'm like basically a therapist.
So you're a therapist.
Yeah,
you're not working in that research.
No.
Part of anything. Are you interested at all?
I am, but like I always liked working directly with people. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I think I like research a lot, but I feel like sometimes it gets too abstract, and a lot of people in research can sometimes remove the human part of it too much. Because they're trying to, like you said, make everything into numbers. And then when they try to apply the research, they're like, well, it's not quite working. Why is that? And it's like, well, because people are human. Like, well, I almost think like the best knowledge for me, in my opinion, is knowledge that you can use. If you have knowledge just for fun, what the hell is the point? I don't care, right? I want to use the knowledge I have, the research I know, to help people. That's my purpose, right? So sometimes research, very important, obviously. But for me, that's not necessarily where I want to spend my time because I want to feel like I'm contributing directly, right? Like,
yeah, but based on what you were telling me, it seems like you probably could do good, or you probably could do better if you participate in that research process. Just thinking about the fact that you feel that what is being done right now to treat people is not probably the best way, or at least the approach of like, you have to relapse 7 times at least before you can get better.
Yeah.
So like you already feel in a way where you not really agree with what is going on, and just rather that wait for the solution to come. It might be your destiny that trying to find the solution yourself.
Well, here's the issue. There's many solutions. There's a big disconnect between practice and research. So people who do practice, like people working in the hospital, I think my hospital's better than most, just because it's kind of famous, right? And so they kind of do a lot of more cutting edge stuff. But like, let's say other hospitals, they are overworked, right? They have very little time. They're underpaid. They're not looking at the newest research that found out like, oh, this is helpful. Let's start doing this. No, they're exhausted. They're going to do the same old thing that doesn't work. They don't have the energy for it, right? They're burnt out, frankly. Wow. So the problem's not that the research is not there. If the research was not there, then I'd probably
I understand what you're saying.
Yeah,
there is research that is now being applied.
Many
Many that might be successful already.
Yes.
but it has not
Yeah.
the group support, the more popular support, let's say,
Yeah.
or some people is using it, but not all the people.
Yeah.
That way, I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Most, I would say most are not. Like, for example, the therapy I told you about, dialectical behavior therapy, or it's DBT for short.
DBT.
DBT is one of the few, there's a lot of different types of therapies. DBT is one of the few that's actually been well researched. Because somebody can just make a therapy and say, like, well, I think it works. I'm a psychologist. Pay me money. You can take my course and then use it on clients. I promise you it works, right? They don't have to have
There is
research.
no backup. There is no numbers. There is
Exactly.
nothing.
And so a lot of people tend to do that. They just be like, well, I have my own style of therapy, which is like, okay, maybe it works, but maybe it doesn't. Maybe it's your ego telling you that my way is the best because you don't want to learn, right? Like I said, everybody's human, right?
Yes.
But DBT is actually like a evidence-based, a research-based therapeutic intervention. And it works really well specifically with people who are high suicidality, high self-harm. So most high-risk people benefit from DBT a lot.
Oh.
So it's the gold standard. So that's what my hospital uses.
How is that DBT again? How is that one work?
It's like a little complicated, but it's based off of four general pillars.
Like a simple way to just kind of to.
Yeah, the 4 pillars, it teaches you skills, basically. It's like a skills coaching. The 4 pillars are mindfulness, which is well aware. It's to help, mindfulness is there to help the other 3 skills be applied more more beneficially, I guess. There's interpersonal effectiveness, which is like learning how to communicate, essentially. There's emotional regulation, which is learn how to manage your emotions. And distress tolerance, which is if you did explode or you do want to kill yourself or you do get violent, like how do you...
Or even if you get disappointed about something, just...
Yeah, that would be like emotional regulation.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Distress tolerance is like you're fucking out the window right now, right? You're about to like punch a wall or do something crazy. It's like, how do you bring it back down? Yeah. Emotional regulation is if you're upset and you just don't know how to deal with your anger. And like maybe you're going to do something stupid later, but right now you're upset and you don't know what to do. So these 4 together, they just, depending on what you need, you learn all of it, obviously, but depending on, usually people are missing 1 or 2. And that's like the big problem for them, right? And like, so people with suicidality, sometimes it's like they don't know how to communicate what they need, and instead they just explode. So sometimes interpersonal effectiveness is really important, and distress tolerance for when they explode. Some people don't know how to deal with their emotions, so emotional regulation and distress tolerance is important. And some people have no insight about themselves, right? Like if you don't have insight and you think like, well, I'm fine how I am, it's their fault. They need mindfulness and maybe emotional regulation. Like everybody benefits from learning all of those, but really it's usually 1 or 2 that...
Wow, man. It's crazy, right? I mean, probably is not the right word to use. It's crazy. but you know what I'm saying, right? It's man. You try to have a conversation and understand the whole plan in 5 minutes, and it's so impossible, right?
Yeah.
So when I first thought, right, I gotta do a podcast. I gotta talk to my clients. That was my first idea, right? I gotta talk to my clients because I want people to know why they want to get tattoos or what the tattoo means, or inside of that conversation to get to know about them, right, as a person. Because I always feel interested about people, right? How people become people, right? How you became you, right? And also I have so many clients like yourself, right? Like in different fields, right? In so many different fields, I was like, it would be good to pick the brains just to learn a little more, right? So then I realized I don't need to talk about tattoos or just with my tattoo clients. I can talk to anybody, right? Because the whole idea now gonna become part of the first steps of the planning about the podcast. What I would talk about, it was okay. I don't need to talk just to my clients. I gotta talk also to tattoo artists, and then I've been blessed with a friendship of great famous tattoo artists, great guys, great people. That they're not just super talented, but they're beautiful human beings. They're nice people, legit nice people, right? And they, I know about the journeys, not so much, not so many details, but I know that it haven't been put in their hands as a gift. They work hard for what they have, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then thinking about that, it comes my own demons of I don't know how to do many things. I don't know how to understand so many things, right? And for example, if I want to open a business, how I do to manage better the money, or to treat better the people, or to get a loan. Then simple things like how I get a loan, how I get approved for a credit card, how I get up. I've been learning all of this
Mm-hmm.
since I don't know, not too long ago. I didn't know any of that. I didn't grow in a. I grew up in a home full of love
Mm-hmm.
and family, stuff
Mm-hmm.
like that. But we were like very limited money, let's say that way.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to say poor because it sounds weird, but we were very limited money.
Mm-hmm.
My mother was a single mom. She worked very hard in home, from home to raise us up. So we never sit in the table and talk about finances or
Mm-hmm.
savings or how
Mm-hmm.
important it is to do this or that. Basically, not much, right?
Mm-hmm.
And now I come to the world, and now I need to build my own stuff, right? My own career, my
Mm-hmm.
own home, my own family,
Right.
and now I'm worried about what I'm gonna leave behind for my kids, and
Mm-hmm.
not just the money, but the knowledge in their hands, right? So they
Yeah.
can operate in the world in a better, more efficient way, right?
Mm-hmm.
Socially and also economically
Right.
and everything, right? I'm thinking about that, right? But there is not much in my mind there is many things that I know, but sometimes the basics of the world, how the world operates, for example, in America, here in the United States, like you need to build credit, you need to have savings, you need all of that kind of things. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know much about it. So
Mm-hmm.
what I know is what I've been learning, right?
Mm-hmm.
But still, I know there's a lot that I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
So thinking about that, how difficult it has been to learn stuff or get to know what is the best way to do. Sometimes, like in the past, was a point where I had money saving,
Mm-hmm.
but I didn't know what to do with that money
Mm-hmm.
because what would I do? I gotta buy a nice car
Mm-hmm.
for what? What are they gonna give me at the end of the day?
Right.
I gotta buy a bigger house for what?
Mm-hmm.
What would I need a bigger house? You know what I mean? So I always thinking about what is the best way to. In some point in my life, I don't probably cannot work anymore,
Mm-hmm.
and do I have enough money to live out of not working anymore?
Mm-hmm.
All of that kind of right. But also, I want to learn.
Mm-hmm.
I want to talk to people that know things
Yeah.
and try to learn from them.
Mm-hmm.
And if we record that conversation with a couple of cameras and microphones or whatever we put out there, we might be helping somebody, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or at least sharing the information, even if the information is not the greatest one. It's
Mm-hmm.
information always, right? So some people might take it and feel like, oh, that was good.
Mm-hmm.
I want to learn something about meditation. It might help me, and
Mm-hmm.
trust me, that will help.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody should meditate, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, or might be like, yeah, I don't believe that's the right
Mm-hmm.
way. Probably it's another better way. I'm gonna look for it, and
Right.
still it's helping, right?
Right.
It's challenging. So, it's, como going from that point on, that's what I was asking you. What would be an advice, right,
Mm-hmm.
for people? Like when I invited you to come and talk to me or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
I knew about the nutrition part of your career because
Mm-hmm.
you helped me in some point with
Mm-hmm.
good advices about don't kill yourself with the food that you're eating, brother. Come on, stop it. So I was like, yeah, I want to talk to you
Mm-hmm.
because I know that people can pick also information out of that, right? And
Mm-hmm.
and now I got to learn that you are a lot more now involved with your mental health
Mm-hmm.
career than just the nutrition.
Mm-hmm.
And probably in some point you gotta go again back to the point that oh yeah, now I can really fusion those two things because they're linked, right?
Oh, yeah.
What you eat and
Yeah.
the way how you
They
your
say
mind
that
and your
all
health
the
and your
time in
soul
the hospital.
develop, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just crazy because I keep saying crazy.
Oh,
I
it's
feel
fine.
so weird saying crazy, but you know what I
Yeah.
mean. But it is crazy that some people
Mm-hmm.
in that higher levels of probably in your career or your boss or
Mm-hmm.
in the institution itself, maybe there, maybe not there, but in other areas, they can still not link how food is so bad for you, even though it's so good for you and so needed. At the same time, it's so bad for you, and they don't want to kind of put all to, like, they feel like, okay, no, let's don't talk about nutrition. Let's just focus on the mental health, and let's just focus on finding the perfect medication for this and the perfect therapy for that. And don't put other things because you're gonna complicate. But it might not, right? It might make it easier. So how you experience about that? It is in the place that you work, at least. And I don't want to get you in trouble, so
Yeah, no, it's fine.
don't destroy them, don't talk shit about them. But
No, they actually do very well.
The mixing.
It's one of the, mind you, I've been in this field like only a few years, so it's not like I have so much experience. But I think compared to other places, it's like one of the best, just because they fully integrate nutrition, exercise, sleep, and even spirituality into the program, along with like research-based like DBT therapy, cognitive behavioral therapy, motivational interviewing. So they do like a lot of, it's a very comprehensive program. So like, I think I was most impressed by their sleep hygiene thing, because people who are staying there, they have like mandatory sleep hygiene. Like you're not allowed screens after a certain time. You can't have caffeine after a certain time because that'll impact your sleep. There's no lights allowed after, a certain time, and then you have to be in your room at a certain time. Like it's all scheduled so you sleep better, right?
Wow.
With food, the nutrition, they have a registered dietitian there. I actually talk to her sometimes because she knows I was in nutrition, and she's like responsible for helping the people with their like nutrition and their meals while they're there. They have mandatory gym time for some people, but otherwise it's like very encouraged because you can't force someone to exercise, I think mandatory, it's for the adolescents there.
Okay.
Because, they're kids. You can tell them gym time is mandatory, right? But
no, but it's good. It's good that they're integrating everything together.
Yeah.
And it sounds like a recipe for success when you're integrating sleep, exercise, eating, nutrition, and the researched part of the programs that work, like the DBT.
Yeah.
It sounds like it's gonna be a success, right? At least you're increasing the chances.
Exactly.
Right?
You increase the chances. See, like this is almost the same thing I was talking to you about when I was like, okay, if I'm with you for 1 hour, you do well. But what really matters is the 23 hours I'm not with you. So if we think about this, there's residential stays. So it's like I work in the 28-day program. So people stay there 28 days getting like immersed in this therapy, right? Along with the nutrition, the exercise, the sleep, everything, right? They talk with psychiatrists, psychologists, clinical social workers, residential counselors. Like it's a big team that they're working with constantly, right? So recipe for success. And while they're there, I would say probably 100% of people get better.
Oh, wow.
But the problem is once they leave, that's so we have a lot of very strong aftercare. Like, okay, what's your next step? What are you doing? When are you seeing your doctor next? When are you seeing your therapist next? What is your plan for the first 2 weeks while you're out? So that's one of the more important parts. So what we like to say is we build a foundation for you while you're there, but it's not a cure. There's not a cure while you're there. So the aftercare is very important. So once people leave, it's not like maybe nice to say, but we can usually tell who's going to relapse and who will not. Because the person who will relapse is like, I'm fine, I don't need to do any of this stuff. And they go out there, they're like, oh, I'm going to a wedding where there's an open bar, for example, if they're an alcoholic. And we're telling them, do not go to this. This is not good for your recovery. I know it's your friend's wedding and that's painful, but it's very likely if you're around this stuff and everyone's drinking around you, it's not good. And they're like, no, I'll be fine. And then they go, and then guess what happens?
I know.
And it's like frustrating.
And
like,
when you're friends,
when
you're surrounded by friends, your friends don't really understand, and they're not doing the in bad way.
Yeah.
But they're gonna be like, come on, just one drink today, it's okay. When I stopped smoking cigarettes, my friend used to blow smoke in my face.
Oh my God, Jesus Christ!
Those are friends, right? Those are your friends.
Exactly.
So have lunch with them, and when you're a smoker, after lunch you want a cigarette. It's something like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't really understand. But you want a cigarette. So you're sitting there, you try to stay a little apart, your friends start smoking the cigarettes and they're blowing smoke.
Right.
Like, come on, you gotta smoke. Don't pretend you gotta be strong. You gotta smoke again. You fucking friends, man.
Exactly.
But those are friends.
But
It is what it is, right?
exactly. And those are like the challenges, right? So the aftercare is like so important for that. And that's why we always try to like make sure everything's set, everyone's taken care of, there's not any like holes, right? But it's the part I was telling you before. How much is the person invested in this? You know, like, are they saying like, oh, I'm fine now, I'm cured? Well, everybody medical around them is saying you're not cured. Trust us. Be
Trust
careful. And they're like, no, I'm okay. Right? That's part of the illness in some ways. Right?
Yes.
The idea that you're fine.
It's again your brain trying to
Yeah.
make you feel in that way in the moment. Like,
Yeah. But despite that, I do feel like a lot of people benefit from the program. A lot of people get better. There are some people who repeat for sure. But at least with the program I'm familiar with, there's not that many repeats.
wow. Are you aware of people that? I mean, you've been up for too long inside of the crate. You're very young too, right? But are you aware, maybe by yourself, people that you know, or by your colleagues? How you say? Colleagues.
Yeah.
About people that really recover 100%, like that they were very bad and now they're living a successful life.
Yeah.
Have you heard those cases?
Absolutely.
Wow, it's
100%.
nice, man.
Yeah.
It's nice.
And it depends on the person. It's because I definitely would not be doing this 100% if I didn't think it was effective.
Imagine that.
Yeah, because I would be like, well, fuck it, I'm not going to do this.
Yeah,
It's wasting my time.
some people have that kind of careers, right? That they have to work in places where they know that they won't succeed, right?
Yeah.
So,
The problem with mental health broadly is and maybe related to the reason it's so unsuccessful is like it's stigmatized, right? Nobody wants to just go out and say I have depression to like everyone they know. It's they feel like a lot of shame.
I think the very number one problem that I seen getting better just listening to people talk about it is that at least now it's being recognized as a kind of disease. Let's say that way, right?
Yeah.
Because up to before it was like, I feel depressed or whatever. Or people, it's not even saying it, but it's showing. And their families or people around them is like, come on, suck it out. You're just lazy. Just move on.
Yeah.
Like, they don't understand that it's not like I'm feeling depressed. It's like I am depressed. So it's kind of a difference there, right?
Exactly.
It's not like you choose to be that way. It's just some chemicals in your brain maybe are in disorder, some hormones or whatever it is.
Yeah, it's your body's way of saying like something's not working. It's like the danger. The way I describe it sometimes is when you're driving your car, and then the light comes on.
The light.
Check engine light. Yeah, and then a lot of people, like, let's say that's like, oh, I'm not feeling too good. People are like, I'm just going to turn it off. So they turn it off. The car, something's going on with the car.
Put a sticker in the top and cover it.
Exactly.
Try to cover it with.
And they keep going. And then their car stops working. And it's like, oh, why? I don't understand. It's like, yeah, you just kept trying to push forward when it gave you a light. Depression is like the light of like, oh, something's not right. Something in your life is not right. It could be nutrition. It could be exercise. It could be your thoughts. It could be you work too much. It could be you sleep too little. It could be a lot of things, right? Depression can come from so many different things that end up with this imbalance, right? But if you ignore it and say push forward, well,
it won't help. You're gonna get worse and worse and worse.
Exactly.
But also what I was saying is that it's good that it's being recognized and accepted as a disease. Let's say it that way. For me, that has such a limited amount of knowledge about pretty much everything that I know. Everything is so limited. Sometimes it's hard to use words because I don't want it to be taken as I'm trying to say something bad. When I say depression is a disease, I don't know if that's right. So I don't want to be using words that might be taken in a wrong way.
Right.
But I feel that the way how I perceive it through what I've been seeing in videos, commercials, documentaries, couple of readings around, is how that's one of the actually more positive things that have happened with mental health.
Yeah. Is
that many things that weren't taken not for granted, they were taken easy, not too seriously. Now they're really being understood as a disease, right? But possibly doctors and therapists, they know better. But the public in general is the hard part, right?
Yeah.
Like you see, let's say you sibling, young kid, 17, 13, 14, 15 in high school, and he's you notice how he's not interested in doing anything, and he don't want to hang out with the friends, and it's home and just in that room and stuff like that. And I mean, that was me growing up. But the point is that sometimes it's like, you're being lazy. Just go, just do something, whatever. But people is not really pressing attention that it's not being lazy. It's not. It's actually a condition happening. Not always, of course. Sometimes it's just being lazy.
Exactly. Yeah.
Sometimes it's just
Yeah.
or not having something that motivates you in that moment, that day, or those days. But it doesn't really have to do with being sick or anything like that.
Exactly.
Either,
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's good how little by little, it's more and more out loud. People talk about it.
Yeah.
And I think that's helping, right?
Absolutely.
That's helping a lot.
I see, especially the younger generation, whenever I talk with them or I work with them, they're so much more open. Like a Gen Z,
Gen Z?
Gen Z, Generation Z.
Oh,
yeah.
Generation Z.
They're so open about it.
Yes.
They're like, oh, my therapist told me this, like casually. And I remember when I was growing up, like, you don't mention you have a therapist. You never mention you have a therapist.
Right? Yeah.
And they're like, you just mention it, whatever.
But at the same time, and oh my God, this is something that's so complicated to talk because you don't really understand it. But at the same time, I feel it's being taken like too easy, not too easy,
Too light.
too light.
Yeah.
Thank you, that's the word. Because now I see kids, conversation with kids or stuff like that, and they're like, "Oh yeah, my friend is cutting herself because she's so depressed." But they're talking like, I understand how to support it, but it's more like no a real feeling, no a really something important is going on. If not, like it's part of the everyday conversation.
Yeah, like they just accepted that this is.
They just accept it's so normal.
Yeah.
Or young kids saying like, I think I'm bisexual today. I feel because I like that girl. Let's say you're a girl and you like that girl, and I think I'm bisexual. I gotta be a bi now. I gotta be a bi, but you're 12, right? And yeah, you might be a bi. Why not, right?
Yeah,
You might.
right.
But I just feel like it's my point is not trying to judge if they are or they're not. It's how easy now is everything is talked to. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like how light is every conversation taken. Like, I think nobody loves me and I'm fat. Or something like that. But wait. Are you really feeling that way? Or is that just a conversation that you keep having around that provoke reaction from your past? They say like, nah, you're beautiful, whatever. And you're just looking for that? Or you're really feeling that way? It's so like before, nobody talks about it, right? When I was growing up, you never heard nobody saying, I feel depressed or I'm sad or anything like that. It was so rare. And I'm not saying it was good. I'm just saying it was that way, right?
Right.
Then to a point, it was like, people is opening a little more, talking a little more open about how they feel, right? Which is good. And I encourage that to my kids, for example. Like I said, if you feel something, just tell me, right? Whatever you're feeling, just try to spread your emotions so I can understand it.
Yeah.
That's my conversation with Andres, for example, this morning. I was like, dude, you need to show appreciation for the things that people do around you, not just taken and assume that they are on to you.
Yeah.
So if you want pass a glass of water to you, say thank you, mommy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not assume that she have just to give you water because she have to.
Right.
So things like that, right?
Yeah.
So, but I encourage, like I said to him, for example, Andres, put a long sleeve t-shirt. It's a little cold outside. And he's like, no, I want to wear this t-shirt. I like this sleeveless, whatever. So then I said, no, you don't got to wear that. It's cold. You have to put that word. So he get mad, right? He want to cry or he want to get a tantrum or whatever. Like, no, I want to wear this one.
Yeah.
Because he's a little kind of like, this is the order. This is the one that corresponds for today or whatever.
Yeah.
I said, don't tell me you got to do a job because you want to. I'm open to listen to you, but tell me your reason. If your reason is stronger than mine, I'm ready to, say you're right, I was wrong, do it. But don't tell me just because then you'll be an ass. And that's not right. You know what I mean? Yeah. So again, I'm talking a little bit about everything because the point is that I encourage him to talk about his feelings or his emotions or his ideas or whatever it is. The same with my daughter. But So in a point, nobody ever talk about things like
Yeah.
that, right? Like, oh, I feel sad.
Mm-hmm.
I feel lonely or depressed or whatever,
Yeah.
If somebody, if you heard that somebody cut themselves,
Mm-hmm.
it's because you found out because that person made a mistake and let you see it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not because they talk openly. Oh, I'm cutting myself because I hate my mother or whatever it
Mm-hmm.
is, right?
Yeah.
Or I'm so this or that, I did this the other day.
Right.
It's like people don't really talk that openly about it, right?
Yeah.
So it was a point where people start talking and it was kind of good
Mm-hmm.
because now, oh, I can see something is going on, right? So my kid said to me, I feel so sad, but I don't even know why. So
Right.
then you're like, okay, something is going on. Let's talk. What is going on in your day? What happened in school or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then I feel like it went to the whole extreme
Mm-hmm.
where now people is like, oh yeah, I cut myself last night because whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like, oh yeah, and I feel fat ugly, so
Mm-hmm.
I'm worthless. But it's like more that they're looking for that kind of,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That kind of love from the friends or the kind of attention. It's more like calling for attention, kind of.
Right.
And I'm not saying in a wrong way, you know
Right.
what I mean? But it's
Yeah.
more like it's so easy, so
Yeah.
so light. They talk about it so light, like it's whatever, like whatever, you know.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's healthy, man.
I think
It worries me because my daughter is 13, and sometimes she talks about things that happen in school, right, or even with herself. And it worries me seeing how people is talking about it so easy, so open.
Mm-hmm.
But again, no, I don't feel like it's in a way where they're trying to express that something is happening, even though actually they're demonstrating something happening. You can perceive it, right? But probably what they're trying to demonstrate or say that is happening is not what is happening, but you can at least perceive something is happening and help.
Yeah.
But what is that so open now? Why people, kids so young, are talking so much about it so openly?
Yeah. Just my opinion,
Yeah.
because I feel like it's such a almost like a big topic.
Oh, and it's super complicated,
Yeah.
super complicated. And again, I don't know shit about it.
Yeah.
For me, it's more starting from the point of I'm a father,
Yeah.
and I'm so like ignorant about it.
Mm-hmm.
So I just try to express to you
Yeah.
what my thoughts are.
Because I know what you.
And they should be super grown, but
Yeah.
I just want to try to hit. You might not know. And
No, because I totally know what you mean. I noticed the same thing that you're talking about. The way I've seen it has been. It's related to this thing I read one time about how, like, I forgot what year it was. I don't remember the exact years, but it's like a few decades ago. People were asked if you had something really bad going on in your life, how many people do you feel like you could talk to about it? And on average, I think people said 3 or 4 people. And when they asked that same question recently, they said 1 or 0. So it's less. People are, even though we're more connected via the internet and social media, in terms of human connection, it's less. We're less where we were before. Communities, we don't have like neighborhoods as strong as we used to. It's more
individualism, right?
Exactly.
Everybody in their own.
Yeah. The problem is we're human. We're supposed to be connected. We're supposed to have a community, right? And I think this is just my opinion, my guess. I don't know. What's happening now, the youngest generation, they're growing up without strong concepts of human connection because they're growing up in the age of the internet, the age of social media. And social media is fake, right? It's like, it's a veneer.
Yeah.
But that, for them, that veneer is now their default, right?
Yes.
So even being vulnerable through the veneer is a default. So I think that's what you're talking about, kind of. Like, you'll say, like, I'm depressed today, and then they put it on their Facebook post or Instagram or something, you know? And I think it's like the best way they have to try to make a connection through a way that is not made to really connect people in that way. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm following, yes.
So I think maybe this is like, because what you said, call for attention, I definitely see that. We see that a lot in adults and adolescents, right? This is like, it's pretty normal. And but instead of, we call it attention seeking behavior, not as a negative, just as like almost like a symptom. Because what it means underlying is that this person wants a human connection and they can't access it. That's the problem. They're accessing it through a wrong method. So sometimes people's attention-seeking behavior is something like negative, right? Like they will start a fight in school because they want attention from the parent. That's attention-seeking, but usually the issue is like they want that attention. They want a human connection with someone, and they're just going about it the wrong way, right?
Yeah, when I say, right, I say what, calling attention? I say,
Yeah.
all right, it's the same, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Those are the kind of expressions that are used to lie to every day, right? Oh, he's calling attention. He's calling for attention. So people is like try to knock down all the value of that person or feelings.
Yeah.
Just saying it's just calling for attention.
Exactly.
So
And
when
people do
I
that-
said it, I didn't mean it that way, right? I don't mean to take the value like they're just calling for attention. Don't press attention. No,
Yeah.
press attention. They're calling for attention.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
trying to say? The difference in
Right.
my idea at least is like I recognize they're calling for attention.
Yeah.
I recognize might not be healthy,
Yeah.
but at the same time might be healthy because they're trying to develop themselves in society. So
Right.
they need to
Yeah.
to earn points every day.
And it's also the difference between like external validation, like I want you to tell me I'm pretty. For example, if I'm saying like, "Oh, Javier, today I'm so ugly. I feel so ugly," and you're like, "No, you're handsome," right? That's external validation. I want you to tell me something positive about myself versus human connection, which is different.
Yes.
And that would be more like, "Hey, Javier, I'm feeling like crap today. Like, I don't know what's going on." And I don't want you to tell me like, "No, you're wonderful. Your life is wonderful." I just want you to say like, "Man, that's tough. That's tough, brother."
Yeah.
That's connection versus
Yes.
attention. Right?
Tell me about it.
Exactly.
What is happening?
Yeah.
What is going on? Yeah.
Exactly. And so that's like a distinction as well, because what is like the result the person is hoping to get? Do they want like a compliment? Do they want external validation, or do they want a connection?
Wow. That's very interesting, man.
Yeah.
Talking to a friend, let's say, it was similar situation where I feel ugly, I feel bad, I feel whatever, right? And you try to tell them, no, you're okay, no worries, man. You're just perceiving word through I don't know, probably you calling attention or no worries, you're good. Trust me, if I say you're handsome, because I'm saying it, right? Let's say the example of being handsome or not handsome, or you got no reason to be sad. Come on, cheer up. Like, look, the world is beautiful, we just went through a pandemic, now we in the other side almost, and we survived. Days are beautiful, it's not that cold anymore, it's warm, whatever you want to say, right? That doesn't help. Not necessarily help. Yeah, you might be calling attention to positive stuff, but that's not really a connection, what you're saying.
Yeah.
That person might be looking for a connection when he was trying to reach you, right?
Exactly.
And you were saying things like, just be okay, everything's beautiful. That's not connection. That's actually kind of, I feel like it's actually minimizing the value of that person feeling when you're just trying to fix it with a simple, you're okay, no worry, everything's beautiful, cheer up.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
Sometimes you're not really helping somebody. Even when people do it, like if I did it, if I have done it, if we legit, motivations, like I'm just really trying to cheer up the person, make them feel better. But now that you mentioned about the connection part, it makes sense that probably it doesn't feel like you're really, really connecting to the emotions or the whatever is happening in that person.
Yeah.
You're just trying to put a little sticker, right, over the check engine line to cover it, rather than, even if your intentions are legit, it doesn't mean that gonna help.
Exactly.
That makes sense.
Well said.
Kinda, right?
Very well said.
Yeah, I just, it's hard, man. So trying to organize my ideas.
Very insightful.
Yeah, man. You see, so that's part of the reason for me to try to come out with this podcast, because I know I'm gonna try to be aware next time somebody around me comes with that kind of probably, I gotta try. But again, we hardwired, so it's hard to keep the new, the new learning, the new teaching, keeping it there.
Yeah.
When you're so hardwired, that's super back in the head. That,
Yeah.
But I gotta try to be aware to try to
Yeah.
really open to understand when I see people around me might be struggling with something. So you're not doing anything else anymore about nutrition?
No, I
You
think,
put it aside for now.
yeah, I finished my last client actually probably the end of 2020, and then I was like done, and yeah, went full into mental health. Yeah, I still have occasion to talk about it. I still have my certification as well. I kept it updated just in case. I thought it might be useful. It's kind of a pain in the ass to update those. So I don't know if I'm going to do it the next 3 years after.
It lasts 3 years.
Every 3 years, I have to do certain continuing education requirements, and then I have to re-up, and then I have to do it another 3 years. So
Okay.
this time, I don't know if I'm going to keep it, but I still talk about it during like sessions because people are very curious, and they always have questions about like, is this good for my mental health? Is that good for my mental health? And I'm like, yeah, I could actually answer this question because now I have both mental health and nutrition and exercise. So like I can mix pretty well.
Cool. Yeah, I feel it will be a shame, man, if you lose it. You know what I mean? Because I don't know what I feel like in the near future, all of those things are gonna be a lot more linked than ever. How nutrition affect your mind, exercise affect your mind, sleeping affect your whole body. Like that's already science, right? People already know that. People is studying, people is publishing papers, people is working around those ideas. But I feel like more and more they're gonna get really, really mainstream. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
More study, more apply everywhere. So now that you have it, it will be a little shame if you lose it,
Yeah.
because you have a lot of information already that you can apply, but new things gonna come, right? Probably.
Yeah.
That's what we assume, right?
Yeah.
Because that's how things work. Every day,
Yeah, I feel
tips
you.
keep evolving. So
It's the trade-off.
it's a trade-off, right? Because also you cannot keep learning 100% everything.
That's my great disappointment.
No, that's my worst.
Yeah.
My worst.
I love learning. So
Yeah, but that's my worst quality, I would say. I don't know. I'm cranky. That's one of the worst. No, but I'm. There is a quote, but I always forget how it is. But it's something like, I am. Basically, what I'm trying to say is that I know so many things, but I'm not a professional on any.
Oh, it's like a jack of all trades.
A jack of all trades. That's how you say?
Yeah.
So yeah, but I hear a saying that it's like, know a lot, but I don't know how it goes. Probably gonna find it someday. Again, but basically it's that, right? I learned so many things because I'm always curious. I always want to learn one more thing. But it's awesome. It's good, right? It's good that you know stuff. But at the same time, I get distracted for the next thing so quick that now I'm not a professional, like a deep, master or any. Also, it's something like you know a lot, but master of nothing. Something like that is the same. I know if people that are gonna listen to this, hopefully somebody gonna listen to this, they might find the real quote and leave it in a comment somewhere, probably, or send it in my Instagram where I can read it later on. But it's something like that, master of nothing. Know a lot, but master of nothing, or something like that. So I would say that idea, it was very, very common back in the days, where you have to master whatever you do, right? More when in those days that if you're a craftsman, like if you do carving by hand, you don't do too many other things. You do that until you develop a perfect, clean technique, and you're the master of that, right? And that was a good way to approach it. For me, it's more like I want to know a little bit of this, a little bit of that. I want to know about everything, but I jump so much from one place to the other one that I don't really master anything, right?
Yeah.
So
They have an expression in Japanese I really like.
what is that?
It's like translated. It's like the frog in the well knows nothing of the ocean. So it's like you're in your little knowledge silo where you only know this one subject. So it goes. Sorry, the frog in the well knows nothing of the ocean, but only he can know the depth of the sky. So the idea is like, it's almost like he's the master of his own little subject, and he doesn't know about so many things around it, so it's a negative. But because he's so siloed and he only has one way to look, he can see deeper than other people because he was in the well.
So, is that negative or is positive? It sounds
It's both.
right. It depends.
Yeah.
It depends what you want for you.
Yeah. It's usually used as a negative, but the full expression is like neutral.
Yeah, because when you say the frog in the pond just doesn't know anything
In the
about the
well.
ocean.
In the well.
In the well, sorry, in the well. Doesn't know anything about the ocean. It's super negative. Let's say it's perceived very easy as a negative, right? Because you just so focus on yourself that you miss the whole world that's happening around you, right? Even if
in your little area,
whatever you do, But at the same time, what would you be willing to know so much about? What wouldn't you be willing to stay in that space and focus on really learning what you have to learn, right? And live what could be for you a full life, just because you feel like you need to go and learn about everything so much, but at the end you don't learn about anything enough.
Yeah.
So for me, I have to learn about everything, even when I don't learn enough.
Yeah.
But I can understand also the masters, masters that put their life into like learning deeply their craft.
In Japan, that's what it's all about. You choose one, maybe two things, and then you just go deep for the rest of your life. They don't even believe in hobbies.
Imagine that.
Yeah, it's just like, no, what do you mean hobby? Just keep doing the one thing you're supposed to be doing, your job, profession.
Do you have hobbies?
Yeah, jiu-jitsu.
Is that your hobby you would consider?
I guess, yeah. I read otherwise, but I read like broadly, sometimes specific to my work. But I do it because I enjoy it, you know?
Definitely.
So, yeah.
I don't know what is my hobby anymore, man. It's just that I'm busy all day long, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes I realize, I might have a couple of hours to do stuff, and then I do a podcast when I don't have really time to do this, right?
Right. Oh, speaking of, crap, what time is it?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, dude, I gotta go.
Oh, wait. Okay, let's call the day, man.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming. Sorry for keeping you extra time.
The conversation was so good.
I know, man. And I had the hopes that in some point, I gotta be better at this, right? I gotta be better at keeping conversations and don't getting distracted by the feed of not being recording and something is wrong. And we meet up again, man. And you tell me how your career have evolved, and
that'd be cool, man.
And if
also, hopefully, you're great, dude. I think you're great. The conversation at the podcast. Already.
Okay. Yeah, again, it's hard, man. It's complicated. It's complicated that I'm telling you things, but I kind of forgot already what I just told you. It's not like if I sit and trying to think about what we talk, I can recall the whole conversation, right? But at this exact moment when I'm talking, I'm kind of, I don't know, it's weird. It's weird.
Yeah.
It's weird because it's not natural to me. First, it's not natural to me to be outside of my head. It's not natural to me to talk too much. I do it when I'm tattooing to my clients sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, but because it's normal and they asking me questions and stuff like that.
Right.
But it's not natural for me to just sit and talk. Maybe we were having lunch and talking. Or maybe we were having a drink and talking. Or after a session of jiu-jitsu, we sit and talk a little bit about whatever, right?
Right.
But just to sit and talk is not natural. So it's fun. It's good. I love it. I like it. I like it a lot. And I feel like I'm receiving so much information that I gotta spend the whole day trying to process it. You know what I mean? Then I gotta try to apply whatever we talk that I feel like. For example, I love it, man. I appreciate that you said that kind of thing. Like that Javier that's battling, fighting the other guy, just get out of the way. Let the one that want to move forward, the one that want to push you, keep you back, just let them communicate. That was a great way to see it, man. I feel like it makes sense.
Good. I'm glad.
Yeah. I don't know if one day I'm going to read something that kind of debunk that theory, but it seems like it makes so much fucking sense, right?
Well, I think the important thing is you try it.
Yeah.
You see if it works for you.
And I'm gonna.
If not, throw it away.
No, and I'm going to try it, man. And I'm going to put my efforts because it makes so much sense and I feel like I need it. And if I don't put the effort, things don't gonna happen by itself, right?
Yeah.
It's rare that good things that happen just by themselves, right?
Exactly.
But that was a good one, man. And also the other one about listening to people and trying to offer the connection rather than just that simple like, you okay, no worries,
Yeah.
stuff. You're just giving it to my. It was a good way to see it too. Many times you kind of have all those ideas in your mind, but you need to listen somebody to help you to put in order, right?
Right.
To filter it. And that makes so much sense, man. I appreciate you came. I don't want to keep you any longer,
thank
man.
you,
We
dude.
were almost 3 hours talking, bro.
Thank you for inviting me.
No problem, man. You're awesome person, man.
You're awesome.
I really appreciate you came.
I appreciate it.
Thank you so much,
Thank
man.
you, dude.
Let's call it a day so you can go and do you, man.